All right. Hello, everybody. I know it's been quite a while. Johnny Walker will be joining us here in a moment. He's having some technical difficulties because we were trying to get it so that it would simulcast on both of our streams. So here we are. How is everybody today? I'm going to give you guys some opportunity to kind of show up, see what's going on in the chat. So now the overlay is activated, and I'll also activate it on YouTube. But should be going out to multiple channels now. I know it's been a while since I've been out here, guys. It's great to see all of you again. I've just had a lot of stuff going on in my normal life that really needed my attention, and also kind of like, I mean, to be blunt, it's kind of depressing. Not going to get into all of that right now, but anyway, welcome back to my show, folks. I got access to a new documentary that just came out about Kyle Rittenhouse, and it was a link to it was given to all the people who were involved in it, and that's basically where I got it. So let me go ahead, and right now Johnny is like a clone of me because like I made him an admin for a moment to try to get his channel in here. Doesn't look like it's working, but I guess we'll figure it out. If nothing else, he'll still be able to talk. It just means that he'll look like me. But you'll be able to hear him regardless. But we're going to be watching Kyle, the gunman who divided America or a nation or something like that. We'll be able to figure it out here in a moment. But we'll be reacting to it live, occasionally pausing it and talking to you guys. So I'm going to give you guys some more opportunity to show up. I'm also going to go ahead and go to my Facebook real quick and let people know that we're live now. You're listening to VE Radio. If this is your first time checking out VE Radio, make sure you check out my archives. You'll see lots of shows on there. I've interviewed a lot of big people, stuff like that. So welcome. Let me see. It's new. Yeah, I don't know. It just came out and it was made by a major network. So it's got all of the stuff lined up for it. But anyway, hold on just a second. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. All right, I can put this up here. And I'm just going to go ahead and bring Johnny on, see what's up. Hey, Johnny.
Hey, how's it going?
It looks like you cloned me.
Yeah, it will not let me change the avatar either.
That's pretty goofy. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like it's got it enabled that I'm supposed to just be able to let people add their own channels. It's just like this was the only way to be absolutely sure, but I know what's going out to your channel now. So welcome to V Radio,
Hey, you
other
know what?
V Radio.
I could try inviting me through the invite guest and see if that'll do it.
Well, give it a try, see what
Okay.
happens.
Go ahead and keep going there.
Okay, looks like there's Tucker, but it says no video feed. Okay. But anyway, we are now experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by. And welcome, everyone. As we get all this straightened out, we've done a lot of really great coverage of this stuff in the past. And I took a big break because I was dealing with stuff in my life. Hopefully you guys will enjoy what we're going to do tonight because we have kind of exclusive access. I don't know if this is even aired anywhere else yet. So we'll have to figure that out. Oh, it looks like you're there. Hey, what's up, man?
Getting a little bit of an echo though.
There, I turned off the other one, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, now I can hear you good. Sweet, there you go. Will the real Johnny Walker Dread please stand up? Is Tucker one of the guys you invited?
Yeah.
Hello there, Tucker. What's up? I don't know if they can hear us.
Man, what a night we're having.
Yep, it's just one of those nights, man. So, anyway, but doesn't sound like his mic is working or something. I don't know if he's tried to talk or not, but
You sent me a text to log out and back in. Do you want me to still do that?
no, if it's working now, then just do that. I don't know what you did to make it work, but stick to it.
I'm going to have to put on some headphones though because I'm catching an echo.
Fair enough. All right. Good stuff. All right. Great. I'm watching. Good radio voice. Thank you. Thank you very much. Hello out there. He is trying to get through. Oh, conservative goth girl came to join us.
All right, Kimberly.
What's up, peeps?
Hey, the echo is on your end. It's still echoing on me.
I don't hear anything. I don't know how I could create an echo for you. Make sure that you're not playing it in your area, but because I don't have it going on anything else, unless like I can't think of any other way. Wonder
It's
if,
only
like,
echoing though when I talk.
wonder if I do this. How about now?
Okay, that did it.
Okay, good.
It was on
Yeah,
my end.
I had to remove the other V radio clone because there can be only one.
Yeah, one's
So,
enough.
yep, that's for sure. Yep. We got like 8 people watching on Twitter right now, 8 people on Johnny Walker Dread channel, and 10 people on V Radio channel. So,
Come on, Johnny Walker Dread Channel. You're almost there. Go for the gold. Go for the gold.
hello there, Tucker. Can we hear you? No. You must be experiencing technical difficulties too. So,
I'm going to step away for just a quick second.
all right, 1,000. Time's up. I'm sure he'll be back here in a moment. I don't know what's up with Tucker, but hello, everybody. Well, the numbers are steadily climbing. Oh boy. Let's see. Everybody in the chat, how's it been, guys? Been enjoying time away? You been living life? Yeah, I hope so. Let me put this on here, and then I'll re-snooze here.
Almost went without this. Ugh, that was close.
Well, what is it? I couldn't see it because I'm doing
It's
stuff.
whiskey.
Okay. I got a good question, V Radio. All right, what's up? Just another dude in the comments. Tell me what your question is. Then we'll go from there. All right. Still not hearing anything from your buddy Tucker. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if his mic's not working or what, but
Let me check my direct messages and see if he sent me anything.
okay. Voodoo Goblin, huh? Never looked better, Johnny.
That's one of mine.
Says no audio for him at all. I don't know what to do with that. When you joined, it should have asked you if you wanted to enable your mic and camera or not. So anyway, all right, peeps. Let me see. And by peeps, I mean you were all sugar color coated marshmallow chicks to be eaten on Easter morning. Well, I'd like to get him in here, but I don't want to wait too much longer. You want to go ahead and get started, and hopefully he can get it fixed.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. I got an early copy, Eric. I guess would be the best way to explain it. I don't know if they ever released it or not, but I think this was done by the BBC. So, but anyway, let's see what's up here. Okay, peeps. Oh, I want to send this out one more place, and then we'll be good to go.
Yeah,
So, Johnny, why don't you go ahead? I'm sorry.
Somebody said I have never looked better. We got to get that out there. That's important. Okay.
Good stuff. So why don't you tell them who you are if they're like new to my channel and don't know who you are yet, Johnny?
All right, I'm Johnny Walker Dread. I host the Johnny Walker Dread Show. I have about 1,000 videos now. Only about 1,400 subscribers, though. But at any rate, I mostly cover such stuff as Kyle Rittenhouse, especially I have about 400 videos on Kyle. I'm also bashing Rashad Ritchie all the time. I have about 100 videos on him. And I'm starting up a whole new series on the physics of firearms. So if you like guns and you really want to know the real physics behind them, and I don't mean like popularizer stuff that you see on YouTube, I'm talking real cold hard physics. Be sure to subscribe to my channel so you can see that coming up. And I also do a lot of black, what do you say? Oh yeah, the myth of police brutality thing. I do a lot of videos on that as well.
Okay. Yeah, guys, I don't think there's probably many people who listen to my channel haven't been to Johnny's channel yet, but you really should check his channel out. And I assume everybody on Johnny's channel knows who I am already, so I don't have to worry about that. But
Yeah, I think just I can't think of anybody that would know you.
we more or less like share each other's audiences, I think,
Well, why don't you go ahead and
strategically
introduce
well.
yourself anyway? Because there might be some people out there who are not familiar with what you do.
Sure. So I'm Neil, also known as V Radio or VTV. I've been doing podcasting since about 2008. I stopped for a while to concentrate on my kids' sports. I was involved in it more like during the Ron Paul revolution. I worked for Senator Mike Gravel and helped him with his campaign. I was part of Occupy Wall Street in Detroit and Flint. And I do content that theoretically is kind of, if you can see the artwork that I use, it's like a V for Vendetta character with a decapitated donkey and a decapitated elephant, which is kind of like, I don't like either of the major parties. I lean left on some things, I lean right on some things, but in general, that's who I am. So, anyway, we have a documentary that we're going to be kind of having a watch party with you guys about. And I hope you enjoy it. We're going to pause it periodically to talk about the things that are in it. I did watch it earlier today just to be sure there wasn't any surprises. It's interesting because they do interviews with a lot of the different people that were involved in it, and you get to see some different perspectives. Of course, some of them are going to make you groan and some of them are not. But um, the reason that I got involved in all of this is I did a documentary called the Kyle Rittenhouse incident, and it was used by the basically it was used in court to kind of help establish a timeline of how everything went down. There are people who did far more impressive work, like say Orkanut, who did like a ring circus version of all of it. Like, here, let me just like put up everybody's streams on this topic, and all simultaneously, and that's basically what he did. But as
Oh,
far
by
as
the
like,
way,
go
I
ahead.
should mention if you go to YouTube and you put in tracking Kyle Rittenhouse Orca Nut, that is the 2 hour footage that was used in the trial. And so if you're looking for something that happened that night, it's going to probably almost certainly be in that footage. And there's no voiceovers. So you're going it's a really good raw source of video if you're trying to win an argument about Kyle Rittenhouse.
Right. So let me see. Did um just another dude in the comics? You said you had a question for us. I was waiting to see it. I don't like what you said, but all right. Well, ask me again later. I'm going to be turning off the chat overlay here because we're going to be going into watching this video. And then you just like, if you want to comment on something, going on in the video, then by all means, just let me know, Johnny, and we'll pause it. Okay.
Sure.
All right. Turning off the overlay. And I'm going to share my screen, and then we'll get on with the show. Okay, here it is. Make sure that it's big over here. And then I will, let me see, I'm going to do this, which is going to
I just
minimize
noticed that if
this.
I drag the monitor over to my other monitor, I can actually
Mhm.
read the chat through my sunglasses. All right.
That's pretty sweet, man.
Got a new feature here already.
It's modern technology, man. So, oh, it's like Orkanut is his channel. I think his channel is Orkanut on YouTube, if I remember right. So, all right, guys, let's get this show on the road. There was a way I was going to do this. I wanted to maximize it. So, what if I do this?
I'm a little confused, by the
Nope,
way. You
that
said
doesn't
you're a
work.
progressive, but
Uh,
you think that Kyle Rittenhouse is innocent. I thought that only MAGA were Kyle Rittenhouse fans. Like
I'm a progressive on a lot of things, but I also like, kind of into like the truth and what I see with my own eyes. So I've never been okay with violent protests. Like we were very against that in the Occupy movement, and that seems to be something that was lost. The more militant and crazy people that were involved in Occupy that were trying to make us a militant movement, um, they more or less seem to have prevailed when it comes to this sort of thing. Oh, that's Tucker's back. Let's see if we can hear him this time. Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Now we can hear you. Yay.
Thank fuck
Welcome,
for that.
Tucker. Yeah, no kidding.
Hello
that's
there.
right. You're coming out of England, aren't you?
No, I'm in Ohio.
Oh, Ohio. Yeah, well, that's close.
Well, I'll tell you what, before we get started then, go ahead and introduce yourself because I've never had you on my show before. So.
Yeah, well, obviously, I'm Tucker. I watched the riots live, and I just knew somebody was going to get shot. It was just obvious. And I knew within a couple of hours after it all ended that it was self-defense. It was basically like obvious. Since then, I've backed up Kyle on multiple platforms and got banned from a couple. Watched all the trial, and here I am.
All right. Well,
Right.
welcome to the show.
By the way, can I make an
Thanks.
announcement here?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm logged in as a guest, so I'm not going to be able to invite anybody as host to come in. So I'm sorry, but if I asked you to be able to co-host tonight and I didn't get you the link to it, I don't think I'm going to be able to do it now.
Well, I mean, let me know. I can send you links that you can send to them.
Well, okay, so you'd have to DM them to them because, like I say, I don't know if they necessarily follow you.
Oh, well, no, what I'm saying is I'll send one to your DM and then you send it to theirs.
Oh, okay.
They can just copy and paste it.
Man, that's the reason why you're the host and I'm only the guest tonight.
Well, I
Okay,
mean,
do
it's technically. I'm sorry, what were you
And
going
if
to
there's
say?
anybody that I know who wants to join, and they're obviously decent people, I've got the link as well. So
Okay, good.
Okay.
Oh, there
why
you
don't
go.
you put that in the private chat and that'll be easier for me.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that then. One
Okay.
second. Uno momento, por favor.
Oh, well, you know what? I'll go ahead and do it in case somebody else comes in, but the person that was wanting to come in can't. So it's no pressure.
All right, well, there you go.
Who was
Got
it?
All right.
Freddie.
Oh,
No,
Freddie.
Freddie.
I can send it to Freddie. Yeah, I can send it to Freddie.
He can't come on tonight.
That's unfortunate.
Oh, why?
No. He just said he can't.
All right.
All right. Well, with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and
start her up.
Like maximize this. They'll still be able to hear us, so just don't talk unless you want to be heard. So mute your mic unless there's something specific you want to ask about. So, all right, here we go, peeps. It's called Kyle, the gunman who divided a nation.
We are in Kenosha. Looks like there's some people on top of the roof up there. All armed. All armed.
We got the problem with these fucking pigs.
Got two more down right here. Walking towards a group of protesters to the south. And there appears to be no police to the east. That sounded like gunshots. It sounds like multiple gunshots. People are scattering. Shots.
Why are you shooting him?
Hey, what are you doing? You shot somebody? Who shot? Who shot? Hey, stop him!
So that's Gage Grosskreuz's feed. I recognize that from the conversation. But anyway, sorry, going back at it.
Get his eyes!
Two people killed, a third hurt last night in Kenosha.
Authorities are now searching for a possible vigilante wanted.
I can't change what happened.
17-year-old with an AR-15.
But hindsight being 2020, I would never have gone there.
The Illinois team facing murder charges and potentially life in prison.
That night changed my life forever, and it will never be the same again.
We got somebody who needs to mute their mic, guys. Like, if you want to say something, then unmute, but mute your mic until they go in. So, or you need to say something. Anyway, continuing.
It shouldn't be me because I'm on earphones, but
yeah, I just hear a rustling for some reason. All right.
I have it muted, so
Okay.
No.
All right, figure it out. Continuing.
What is he looking at?
It's all going to depend on
Murder?
That's what homicide is. We don't know yet.
Protests began peacefully but have escalated.
It looks like the police station has caught fire.
He was trying to get away from them, and he fell, and then they very violently attacked him.
Free Kyle Rittenhouse! Free Kyle! Yeah!
People chose sides.
Kyle Rittenhouse flashing white power signs, hanging with the Proud Boy.
You actually believe this is a white supremacy sign?
What do you think it is?
It's okay.
He's either a white supremacist or he's a hero.
Allegedly, he's part of a militia. Have you ever heard this president say one negative thing about white supremacists?
Kyle Rittenhouse went with weapons to a Black Lives Matter protest, murdered a couple of people.
How shocked are we that 17-year-olds with rifles decided they had to maintain order when no one else would?
3 people got shot.
Yeah.
2 people were murdered.
Yeah.
To me, it's murder. I'm sorry.
Thank God for people like Kyle Rittenhouse being there
To stand up to so many evil people.
Kyle Rittenhouse has become a cause celeb because there are those who believe that white America is under siege.
Can we take a break?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, just a few things that come up. The music is well done.
Yeah.
I mean, I really was listening to music and stuff like that. The drama, it builds up. This is a very good production. I mean, however you feel about the content, they've done a very nice job with all of the production work. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, so far pretty standard. What I would expect from the industry.
Well, BBC are like the main ones in England. Well, they were. Yeah. They were the only ones in England at one point. So.
The one thing that kind of leaped out at me was when Kyle said that he wished that he could do it all. He basically said, if I ever had to do it again, I wouldn't have done it. Hindsight being 2020. And people are misinterpreting that as to him admitting that he did something wrong. And he's not saying that. He's basically saying that, yeah, sure, if I had known what was going to happen, I wouldn't have gone out there. But again, that is the problem with hindsight.
Yeah, I agree with
Hindsight's
that.
Excellent.
I mean, I've said in the past that it's not like I think that it was wise, but at the same time, you know, people tend to just forget that the city was just being burned down and the police weren't really doing anything about it. And they are going to get into that in this documentary a bit. But was there anything else? You guys ready for me to keep going?
The part about his mom crying, I thought was really very dramatic. Probably one of the most dramatic scenes of the entire event. But he never even talked about it in his book. That was a real disappointment.
Well, he's been a disappointment as far as to how he's talked about his family ever since, but we've already been over that on our stream, obviously. Let's see. Tucker's having connection issues, I think. This hasn't come up yet. But anyway. There we go, Tucker. You re-enabled. Hopefully you stick around. So, anyway.
Yeah, for some reason, the internet goes off. It's crazy. Anyway, carry on. Sorry.
All right. No, it's no problem. We'll just mute everybody and we'll get back to it. Or as Strategic Eyes would say, let's keep going.
In the biggest criminal case in Kenosha history, Rittenhouse claims he shot and killed 2 protesters and injured a 3rd in self-defense. The case has generated national attention.
The central issue in this case is going to be self-defense. The evidence will show the defendant, Kyle Rittenhouse, who was 17 years old at the time, armed himself with an AR-15 and using that rifle, killed 2 unarmed people, Joseph Rosenbaum and Anthony Huber. A final individual by the name of Gage Gross.
I was present for all of the trial. The unadulterated rage that would fill me just at the sight of him.
Under our laws, the defendant can only use deadly force if he reasonably believed that the force was necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm to himself.
I don't believe Kyle had a complete understanding of the terrible situation he was in. There is no death penalty in Wisconsin, but if he went to a prison, he would be killed.
So real quick, hold on a second. I wanted to answer a question from the audience. What in the hell are you going to a BLM protest with a weapon for unless to make trouble? I don't know if you're aware of this, but the videos are on my channel. But the reason that people were armed is that the rioters were armed, including with the AR-15 that you guys are so scared of. In fact, I have video of them firing it at a police Bearcat that was taken in Kenosha the night before Kyle arrived. The other reason why is that the quote-unquote fiery but peaceful protest was extremely violent, and they were attacking anybody who got in their way from their rioting and looting. So if I were going to such a situation because they're burning my community down, then yeah, I'd want to be able to defend myself. And exactly the scenario that is the reason why he needed a gun came up, because the rioters attacked him because he was interfering with their arson. That is what happened. He didn't. That was their motive. They wanted to burn stuff. The people who were armed did not want to let them burn stuff. That's what happened. So, anyway, let's keep going.
So, we're fighting over the kid's life. You as jurors will end up looking at it from the standpoint of a 17-year-old. Kyle Rittenhouse protected himself, protected his firearm so it couldn't be taken, used against him or other people. He acted in self-defense, ladies and gentlemen. That's what the evidence will show.
If I could just have you watch this, we're going to go to 24 minutes on the tape.
I'm a Kenoshan, and I love Kenosha.
You recognize that person right there?
Yeah, that's the defendant, correct?
Yeah, that's Mr. Rittenhouse.
But to this day, when people say Kenosha, they think about Kyle Rittenhouse. And this whole narrative, is Kyle a hero or not? But would any of this had happened if Jacob Blake didn't get shot in the back 7 times?
So on the 23rd, you get a call that
the shooting of Jacob Blake took place.
It was a Sunday afternoon. They said, hey, Corey, you have to see this video. My heart sunk, and I was speechless, honestly. There's no real justification for what happened. Knowing the backdrop of an entire summer filled with protests in solidarity with George Floyd.
So I can't let this go without mentioning some things. As far as justification, let's go over the real facts when it comes to like what was going on and why he got shot. And the fact that there was an intense amount of just false narrative. They were like, he was there to break up a fight. He was glad the cops showed up. This is the kind of crap that got passed around. And they only show one link to the video. There's another one that didn't go out until like 2 weeks later, where they show the cops trying to tackle him, trying to take him down, trying to do all the things that people suggested. But here's the situation when they say no justification. The man was a rapist who had an active warrant for said rape on his name at the time, which the police were made aware of as they were on their way to the location. He was violating a restraining order that his rape victim had against him at the time. He was resisting arrest with a knife. He's lucky they didn't just shoot him immediately. And then he tried to leave with her car with her kids in it. And that is the reason that the police officer was exonerated. Jacob Blake is not a victim. He's a piece of garbage. And he got really wealthy. Like, violating the restraining order his rape victim had against him worked out, great for him because now he's a millionaire, right? Yes, he's paralyzed, but I'm sure he'll figure out ways to make himself feel better. But I can tell you this, if he did that to my daughter, the cops would be the least of his worries. They'd be showing up to arrest me.
Yeah.
Not a good person. Look into his history of domestic violence. Not everybody who gets shot by the cops is some kind of angel that is deserving of your mercy and grace. He was a piece of garbage.
His father was no better.
Right. That doesn't surprise me. And now they're all grifting off of it. Anyway, did you want to say anything, Johnny, before I hit play? Or?
Well, yeah. The idea that they can allow Corey to come in here and inject the narrative to set the narrative is really a problem. In this case here, he's nothing more than just another person who has an opinion. Yes, he was there that night during the protests, but they asked him, well, what about the Jacob Blake deal? He's not an authority on that. So he's going to inject a whole bunch of falsehoods into this. I'm kind of curious if the BBC is going to correct this. Because what you say, there's a lot more to this story. He had assaulted 2 police officers. They tried to tase him. He had a knife. He tried to get in a car with some kids. I think that shooting was absolutely justified, and so did the state. So are they going to sit here now and set the story straight? My gut feeling is probably not. There's one else. Go ahead.
Well, there hasn't been any documentaries showing the other side of the story, so I'm happy that they are listening to people like Huber's girlfriend to give their version of it. They interview Gage at one point too, but I agree with what you're saying. He does inject the narrative right away, but defending the Jacob Blake situation is just ridiculous, but it's kind of par for the course. What I call woke rape culture, which is that rape is only relevant if it's politically expedient, which is the reason why they don't want to listen to Tara Reid. The reason why you're going to see clowns walking around with Joseph Rosenbaum pictures over their head as if he's a hero when that guy raped 5 boys between the ages of 9 and 11 years old. Piece of human garbage, right? Not a hero. Just because you think he was on your side of something doesn't make him a hero. But anyway, that was it. What were you going to say?
There's one more thing. Going back to your earlier comment from one of your viewers, Kyle Rittenhouse told us the reason why he was there. The whole idea that he had no reason to be there is ridiculous. He told us on video before the shootings and on the stand. So that should not even be a question. You may disagree with him, but he clearly had a reason to be there that night with a rifle. He had a reason to be carrying it for self-protection. He told us that.
when he
And
says,
quite frankly, it turned out to be he needed it.
yeah, he absolutely needed it. He was giving medical attention to BLM rioters, like right even after they pepper sprayed him. That's the clip I usually show people to straighten that up, and that clip will be sort of in here. But but yes, then why go? Especially if you damn well know you are not pro-black. Like Kyle made it clear that he doesn't like oppose BLM itself. The issue is that I don't understand why you have to be pro-black to go to a protest, like, or what that has to do with anything. Some people were literally motivated by the fact that they were tired of watching their communities get destroyed. And the thing is that anybody who's actually done the research knows that these riots destroy the local economies. And the people who have been convinced by racial activists to do this are literally making the lives of the people who live there worse. And that includes the black people who live there. Nobody's life is improved by burning things down. The economy in LA never recovered from Rodney King, and it didn't accomplish anything to burn up down all this property. That's the reason why it's just ridiculous, and it's one of the reasons why I think that whoever is doing this is insidiously racist. Whoever is explaining to people that they should burn down their own neighborhoods is diabolically racist, because essentially you've convinced people of color that their best solution would be to destroy the economies and raise the unemployment rate within their own communities, because that's all it does. Nothing changes. And if anything, more poverty leads to more crime, which leads to even more police shootings. It's asinine, but the people who do this think if they destroy enough property, then they can bring about like radical communism. And they admit that when you get them to talk about it, when they don't think anybody's listening.
Well, by the way, there's a misconception or a really bad assumption that those who showed up to protect property were against the protesters. That's not true. And in fact, Ryan Balch wasn't there as a counter protester either. They were there just simply to protect property. And again, go back to Orkanut's 2-hour video. And that's why I always recommend going and watching that. You point out any time that Kyle Rittenhouse is showing anything anti-BLM or anti-black or anything. He's simply there to keep the properties from being burned. And then he goes out into the protesters looking to help injured protesters to see, if somebody has a broken bone, he was willing to set it. That's hardly the mark of a person who is anti-BLM.
Right.
By the way, you do have another comment here. If Rittenhouse had not been armed, none of this would have happened, or he would not have been attacked. There's no evidence to support that.
Right.
Nothing.
So go unarmed and you're less likely to be attacked. Explain how that works. That's just
it's ridiculous. The next sentence that gets me. It's the next sentence that gets me in saying that Nick Smith wasn't armed.
Right.
I'm pretty sure he wasn't he?
Was that the name of the fellow who got kicked in the head in Portland like 2 weeks ago?
No, Nick was the one who asked Carl and Dominic to help.
Oh,
the one with the white hat with the red cross on. That guy.
Oh, okay. Now I remember what you're talking about. Sorry about that.
There's a misconception here. I mean, if Jojo Rosenbaum had attacked Kyle because he was carrying a rifle, then you could make that claim. Unless you interviewed Jojo right after he got shot and before he died, you have no evidence for that whatsoever. And in fact, I don't think that was the case at all. I think Jojo Rosenbaum just went after Kyle because he was a small dude and he was by himself.
So
absolutely.
If he had not been armed, because that's the thing, Jojo was flipping out because they put a dumpster fire out. That is why Joseph Rosenbaum was attacking people, or specifically Kyle. In that instance, he was angry that they put the dumpster fire out. That's all on video.
I think he mistook Kyle for somebody who did put out his fire.
Well, the guy who actually put out the fire was actually one of the owners of the gas station, but there was a kid there with an olive green T-shirt and a hat on backwards, who looked like as if he was dressed as Kyle Rittenhouse. Like the similarities were enough that it looked like he was cosplaying him or something, And I think that's entirely possible. Go ahead, Tucker.
I've got an excellent screenshot of the guy who actually put out the fire, the dumpster fire.
Yep, I remember.
It was just a big guy who he was the one. Yeah,
he was.
There's also the other. Yeah, it was about 100 pound weight, 100 pound more.
And by the way, Good Luck America, Rick Gore put out a video where he was pointing out Kyle Rittenhouse throughout the night, and he had the wrong guy. He was pointing out that person who evidently Rosenbaum mistook for Kyle, he made the same mistake as anybody did. So it's hardly outside the realm of possibility that Jojo Rosenbaum thought Kyle was that dude, and that's why he went after him.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with the rifle.
Yeah.
Nothing.
That was one of the libertarian group.
Right.
Because you quite often hear him saying, libertarians, this way, fall back, and stuff like that during the riot. He was one of them. And you see one of the bigger guys with the helmet on, with the GoPro on the top, he grabs him by the back and just drags him backwards. Like, get out of here. Because he was the one who presumably Rosenbaum thought had pointed a gun at him. Whether he did, whether he didn't, we don't know. I haven't seen any video evidence of him doing it or not, but Rosenbaum just lost his mind. And without Rosenbaum,
being angry at
nothing would have
armed
happened.
men, so you're going to get attacked because you're armed. Again, this just doesn't make any sense, dude. Like, that's, Antifa attacks unarmed people on a regular basis. And the guy who got his jaw broken the night before trying to put out the fire in his his business, it was the furniture store. He wasn't armed either.
Was it the mattress?
Yeah, and they broke his jaw.
He just got
that's there's every reason to be armed in this situation. The funny thing is, that's the other thing I noticed in this film. There is footage of a Black Lives Matter protester carrying an AR-15. We'll just have to watch for it. But I remember thinking, oh, I need to grab that because people always say that. But
well, we have plenty.
All right,
so loads further up, different areas. Yeah, right.
All right, let's get going.
It just was the perfect storm for people to get out in the streets.
You killed a man! Things have gotten intense. I had a bad feeling about this.
We were watching live streams and seeing what was happening. I actually saw that officer get assaulted on a live stream. He had a brick chucked at his head so hard that it knocked him unconscious and almost killed him. That's not okay. That's not protesting. That's a violent felony assault.
When we got into the square, it was bedlam.
They got tear gas deployed. Shit. That was fucking hard.
I was like, all right, well, I'm not gonna stand by protesters because I don't want to be shot. I don't want to get tear gas, so I stood by the news media. For some reason, we had tear gas deployed right at us. So I went to like kick the tear gas away from us.
Fuck! Ah, fuck! Ah, I definitely got fucking shot in my fucking arm.
It's hard to even relive that because it seemed like I was targeted.
I'm fucking media and you shot me in my fucking arm and now 15,000 fucking people seen it fucking happen and you wonder why people don't fucking trust you.
Do you remember when it was that you first arrived in Kenosha to begin covering these events?
Yes, it was that Monday.
Can you tell us about what your focus was in that regard?
Well, at the time that the protests erupted, we went to document the demonstrations that were happening in front of the courthouse. There were fires everywhere.
Here we are in front of the Kenosha courthouse. Law enforcement's using a variety of munitions, including tear gas, some flashbangs, and also we saw some pepper balls.
For the second night in a row, angry crowds clashing with police over the shooting of Jacob Blake.
Yet another black man gunned down by officers.
This is like a small, sleepy city. The police are not used to dealing with that level of civil unrest.
As you can see, things are definitely escalating here. I'm not sure how exactly somebody was able to light this thing on fire with police so close.
The police were more concerned about the police station and the courthouse being burned down than anything else. It felt like a free-for-all.
The violence continued into the overnight hours, that despite a citywide curfew.
With cars, businesses, and government buildings set on fire.
The people that we all pay tax dollars to fund to make sure that they're there at these times of need were nowhere to be found.
We were at Dominic Black's house.
Whoa, what happened?
There was a connection problem there. Hold on a second,
Okay.
folks.
Maybe this is a good opportunity here to kind of take a break and talk.
Yep. Well, for some reason the video is lagging, but I don't know why. I don't normally have that problem, but it's been a while since I streamed.
It was lagging for a little bit there, but for the most part, I saw it pretty okay.
Okay. So are we still? Looks like we're still
So
live.
while you're doing that, you do have a comment here. I don't say there was any justification for the attack on Rittenhouse. It was a criminal attack. But if he had not been openly caring, he would not have drawn the attack. You have no evidence to justify that claim.
It doesn't make any sense. Like,
Well,
why are
I
you
mean-
more likely to be attacked if you're holding a rifle? That doesn't make any
It's
sense.
possible. It's possible that JoJo really took offense at Kyle having a rifle, but you have no evidence to support that. JoJo was killed on the scene. He didn't issue any last words. There's no evidence whatsoever to support that. And common sense seems to kind of fall against that to a certain extent. So I'm sorry. I don't buy it. No, that's okay.
Oh no, I didn't mean.
Yeah,
to
very much common sense. It's like the big, nasty black rifle AR-15. Let's go and chase him. That's a great idea.
But here's the problem, though.
Let's go and attack him.
But the problem is JoJo's insane. So common sense doesn't apply here. So
Right.
can you
Absolutely,
blame
yeah.
Kyle Rittenhouse for the actions of a person who does something that's completely out of any realm of smarts? I'm sorry, but if a guy is carrying an AR-15 rifle, you don't chase him. And Kyle
Absolutely.
he went there thinking that I have an AR-15 out in the open. Nobody is stupid enough to attack me. But he was wrong, because there was one guy out there who was, and I don't really think the word stupid is applicable. I think it's insane. JoJo was not only insane, I think he had maybe a suicidal bent. Or
he absolutely had a suicide. Yeah. He absolutely
okay.
wanted to die that night. He absolutely wanted to die.
I will say this. I don't think he cared whether he was going to die that night. I don't think he was necessarily looking to die, but I don't think he cared one way or the other. Because why was he in the hospital? Because he tried to commit suicide earlier.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to see. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I must give it up to the protesters, though, on one thing. They lit that truck up. I can't even get my barbecue going. I pour all kinds of I mean, I pour all kinds of juice on that thing and try to light it, and I can never get it. And yet they can torch a vehicle. My
Right.
hat's off to them. They're pretty good.
Right. What you should do, forget the lighter fluid. It's garbage. Buy the little blocks. The little blocks that you put under your charcoal. They work a treat.
Or put possessions you really value in there. They'll go up like nothing.
Yeah.
All right. So we're ready to get. I mean, what I did is
Right.
I lowered the resolution to the same resolution as the stream. So hopefully that does the trick. Let's see what
Okay,
happens.
there's another comment here, by the way. I believe
Oh,
he
yeah, what's
attacked
up?
Kyle because he seemed weak, but would not have attacked Balch. Absolutely. And I've said this on a number of my videos. Balch was probably about 200 pounds, a former Army dude. Under no circumstances would Joseph Rosenbaum had attacked Balch.
Well,
He
that's
saw
another
Kyle
thing.
as a weak person. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, that's another thing I wanted to point out, though, is that when you watch the incident where they put out the dumpster fire, those people stormed up there wanting to fight whoever did that, and then they wanted to know who did it. Like they were demanding to know who put out the fire. Who did that? Who did that? That's bullshit. Who did that? You know, like the mob wanted to beat up whoever put out the fire. I go over that in my documentary because it's very obvious that they had violent intent towards those people. They got up in people's faces and they made threats because they put out a dumpster fire. Again, why were the rioters interested in attacking people? Because they were interfering with their arson. That's it. If they were not burning anything, they would never in any way come in conflict with the libertarian group. And the other thing that they argued about was when they started throwing shit at the police Bearcats, libertarians were like, dude, cut that out. Like, you know, you're going to get us killed. And they wouldn't, you know, and they didn't like that either. That was actually what led them into conflict. There was a black girl there who was one of the Black Lives Matter organizers who was like, are you with us? You know, like as in demanding to know that they would be okay with it, you know, and then that's actually what started to lead to, because there were protesters who started attacking and throwing stuff at the libertarians with the guns, again, in wake of that, in wake of the dumpster fire being put out. That these people were already angry because, you know, like exactly like this. Yes. As longtime friend of the show, John Jackson says, how dare you stop me from blowing up a gas station? So anyway, you guys ready to keep going?
So rude.
One more comment here. There was something here about Gage Grosskreutz testifying that that he pointed his gun at Kyle. He's now claiming the opposite. He's now claiming he didn't do any such thing.
That's actually going to come up here in the documentary here in a little bit.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. Let's let you know. All right, let's try it again.
For the second night in a row, angry crowds clashing with police over the shooting of Jacob Blake.
Yet another black man gunned down by officers.
This is like a small, sleepy city. The police are not used to dealing with that level of civil unrest.
As you can see, things are definitely escalating here. I'm not sure how exactly somebody was able to light this thing on fire with police so close.
The police were more concerned about the police station and the courthouse being burned down than anything else. It felt like anarchy. It felt like a free-for-all.
The violence continued into the overnight hours, that despite a citywide curfew.
With cars, businesses, and government buildings set on fire.
The people that we all pay tax dollars to fund to make sure that they're there at these times of need were nowhere to be found.
We were at Dominic Black's house having fish and chips, and Dominic's dad got the guns out because there were people rioting. There were people burning down people's homes. It's not about Jacob Blake anymore. It's about lawlessness and looting. Law enforcement just took a step back and decided to let the city burn.
The state calls Dominic Black to the witness stand.
The trial is just really nerve-wracking.
The testimony about to give in this matter be the truth, the whole truth, and that's what the truth is.
I wasn't allowed to talk to him or anybody in his family. No third-party contact.
Did there come a time in which you got to know an individual by the name of Kyle Rittenhouse?
Yes.
Do you see him here in the courtroom?
Yes.
Can you point him out by where he's seated and what he's wearing?
Right there, in the suit.
I got to know Kyle and his family when I started dating his sister, Mackenzie. Me and Kyle just kind of clicked. We were just really good friends right off the bat. And we just kind of went from there, really. His first hunting trip was with me. We got there and we realized that, hey, everybody's got their own gun besides Kyle.
Dominic had an AR-15, and honestly, I thought it looked cool. A lot of media falsely portrays it as this huge firearm that's capable of mass damage and firing super fast, and the truth is, the AR-15 is a sportsman's rifle for precision shooting, hunting, and they're a great gun for self-defense. I used one for self-defense, and I defended myself perfectly.
Do you recognize that item, Mr. Black?
Yes.
What is that?
One of the AR-15s.
Do you know whose one that is?
I believe it's Kyle's.
There was the understanding that, you know, you're not 18, this isn't your gun. And once he's legally allowed to have it, I would gift it to him as an 18th birthday present.
Okay. Could you?
It stayed at my house. It was locked away. That hunting trip was the only time he had access to that gun, up until, I believe, the day that everything happened.
People living in Kenosha woke up to a day of destruction.
A community in pain and a city on edge.
And last night I saw law enforcement severely outnumbered by thug, looting scumbags.
There's always going to be opportunistic individuals. People that are going to want to seize the moment for their ideology. That post from the Kenosha Guard really just galvanized a bunch of people to come into the city. Armed, like huge guns. It was a real makeshift militia that came in.
It's righteous indignation, I guess you'd say. They had been burning cities systematically with no opposition for how many months now? And Kenosha Guard was asking for help, so they're going to get it.
I will stand in the way. I will stand in the way. I will try to reason with them as much as I can possibly do.
I was told that us coming from out of town, bringing our guns, only infuriated the protesters. But if you're going to go in and riot and do damage, you're going to have to expect citizens to stand up to you. And I'm one of them.
So yeah, I imagine the protesters were pretty irritated because, again, somebody was doing what Ann just said, which is standing up to them. They kind of enjoyed their dominance situation where they were free to destroy property with, impunity, and they didn't want anybody to interfere with that. That's really what this is about. Like,
Nailed it.
Go ahead.
No, nailed it. You nailed it.
That's really it. They were upset, all right, and it's because and that's why they're still upset. They really believe that they are entitled to just destroy random people's property because they're angry about something. It's that simple. And it's one of the reasons why these places don't economically recover, is that if you have a population in the area that reserves the right to just destroy random property anytime they're mad at the government, nobody's going to want to bring jobs to that place. Nobody's going to want to open businesses in that place. That's why LA is still a cesspool. And the Rodney King riots were a long time ago. And I have all the science to back this up. This isn't just my opinion. I did a whole presentation on why riots don't actually achieve anything. These are the reasons why Martin Luther King didn't support riots. Is because he saw the damage that they do. But anyway, yeah, so they were upset. The people with armed, they were armed were upset. You know what? They were upset when they knocked that guy out and broke his freaking jaw too, and then they defended what they did. it's like, it's irritating. It's like that I should just do a presentation going through this at some point and playing clips for more context, because like I said, when you watch the raw footage of that guy getting assaulted for trying to put out a fire, and then the way they all reacted, you got to understand, we're protecting ourselves. Like, these people aren't making it home to their families. I'm like, so you think attacking a random guy putting out a fire is going to in some way make you safer? Do you think anybody just thought to themselves, I didn't really notice how as much about, police killing black people until I saw them, assault an innocent man. Then I was suddenly interested in their plight. That's not how things work. It's not how things work. That's the reason why terrorists lose, support over time and everybody else. Anyway, before I hit play again, anybody want to make a comment?
I have a question. So far, do you think that the BBC documentary is pretty fair?
Well, they're giving voice to people I don't normally hear from, but they are also they did talk to Kyle, and then they are giving Grambo a voice, and then they are giving that other guy whose name I keep forgetting. He was just on there sitting on his couch. That's what Grambo refers to him as, fuck around and find out guy, because he's yeah. So the fact that they're talking to all of them, is good. I'm glad that they're interviewing people from both sides of the conflict. I'll give them that.
I mean, maybe this is a question also for the people out there in the chat. Do you think that this has so far been a pretty fair, balanced documentary?
Let's see what they think. I'll actually put it up. You know what? I'll put it up as a poll, and we can hit play and then see what happens. All right, everybody, let's go.
The biggest thing that really hit me is seeing that car lot. I had never seen a car burnt to the ground in my life, and here's 50 of them.
We talked to Sam, who owned the Car Source lot, and we asked him, what can we do to help? And he asked, can you guys come here tonight and make sure that the rest of my business doesn't burn down?
I was kind of skeptical about it at first, but, I'm there helping, and I want to help. And that's kind of what led us to coming down later that night.
You were armed with an AR-15. You had it loaded with 30 rounds of full metal jacket ammunition, correct?
Yes.
That weapon with 30 rounds is capable of killing at least 30 people, correct?
Yes.
So you felt that as a 17-year-old, it was appropriate for you to be out on the streets of Kenosha with an AR-15 that night. Fair?
I believe I had any other right to be there as anybody else.
As any other adult?
As anybody.
But you weren't an adult?
No.
We're heading down the riot zone, and here we find a couple kids hanging out with rifles on the corner car lot, And we're like, oh, wow. Seems like they might need some help.
Already looking at some Patriots. Getting readied up.
When they showed up, they looked like fresh out of the military. It's like, whoa, I'm wearing a sweater. These guys have vests on and combat pants, and I'm like, wow.
I just took an AR-15 rifle. I had a sidearm, which would have been a 1911. Riot control agents and stuff like that. New tear gas, pepper spray, that sort of thing. But that's about it. Other people have body armor, things of that nature.
It's tight. So this is what I wore down. When they were throwing bricks at us, this was my protection so my head didn't get hurt.
So these cars were burnt last night, and that whole car dealer is burnt out. Crime scene wrapped all the way around it. Local communities are standing on their corners, armed with a bat or a gun. But this is an area that we're protecting tonight.
There's a saying, Midwestern boys are shake and bake soldiers. The boys from Michigan, the boys from Wisconsin, we just know what to do. We make the Civil War go, And then, all right, we're ready to rock. So I took back my charging handle, let it slide home, and Kyle's looking up like, what? And I was like, you too, buddy, we're not playing around here. You know? And I was glad for that. Because, you know, Rosenbaum would have got him if he didn't have that round in that chamber.
So we're in Civic Park. It's directly next to a school within the radius where it's extra illegal to have a firearm. And there's just guns everywhere.
Boy, one person fires a shot, I think all hell gonna break loose.
I'm from Wisconsin. Open carry is a thing that we have here. But this was an accident waiting to happen.
Anthony and I, we were acutely aware of all these militia people around us. But we got skateboards, like we can dip out of there real quick if we need to. It was the last picture I ever took of him. That night was gonna be like the largest gathering of protesters, and it just felt like the right thing to do.
Please continue to clear the area. Please do not destroy more property.
It got very chaotic very quickly. If you're not 100% I support the police, they don't protect and serve you.
There are literally hundreds of law enforcement officers pushing everybody back here.
The plan was just to stay put in Civic Park.
Leave him be! What's your problem?
And then the tanks began to push us down south, down Sheridan Road.
Oh, here we go. We're getting moved, whether we like it or not.
After the police pushed the protesters south of Civic Center Park, what did you do then?
I went down to the car source, and basically as I walked up, were like approximately 5 or 6 armed individuals in front of the business. I put my hands up and I said, hey, are any of you guys willing to do an interview about why you're here?
How many members of that group did you interview?
One. What are you doing out here? Obviously you're armed and you're in front of this business, so what's up?
So people are getting injured, and our job is to protect this business, and part of my job is to also help people. If there's somebody hurt, I'm running into harm's way. That's why I have my rifle, because I need to protect myself, obviously, but I also have my med kit.
And what about these other folks? Obviously there's some other people who are armed as well.
Their job is to protect me.
Gotcha. And then what about these guys up on the roof?
Their job is to provide overwatch to protect me also.
Gotcha.
They're protecting everybody on the ground. We're protecting each other.
Understood. And
we're running medical, and we're going in and we're getting people. Like, you get hurt, I'm grabbing you.
In your experience at the various events that you've covered similar to what was going on in Kenosha, have you seen other individuals who proclaim themselves to be medics or EMTs who arm themselves with a gun?
No.
Do you recall seeing any others that arm themselves with an AR-15?
No.
Medical. EMS right here. I'm an EMT.
There's a medic right here if you need help.
It seemed off to me. He's trying to serve this dual role of medic and police officer. He has no freaking clue how mad these people are at him.
Does anybody hurt? Does anybody need medical?
No, we got our own medics. You're good. You can go home.
Fuck you.
Looking back, like, if it had been my younger brother, I would have dragged him by his ear out of there.
I am an EMT. If you are injured, come to me.
You testified that you were involved in some sort of EMT cadet program. When was that?
I was a Antioch. I was a cadet at the Antioch Fire Department. I believe from 2018 or 2019 up until the incident.
You weren't a member of the fire department, were you?
I was.
You were a actual on-duty member on the roster of the Antioch Fire Department?
No.
The night of August 25th, you're here in Kenosha, Wisconsin, saying you're an EMT, correct?
Yes.
That was a lie.
Yes.
Hey, Neil, this would be a good time to stop.
Hey, these guys are just, let's leave these guys alone, guys.
All right, what's up?
Oh, just been going on a while here. A few things. By the way, I do feel bad for Hannah Giddings. That was the girlfriend of Anthony Huber. And a lot of people made a lot of fun of her, including me. I actually published a video that kind of criticized her, but I feel bad about it. But, I mean, she had her boyfriend was shot that night, dead. And so I really do believe that she's kind of a victim here as well.
I don't know. It's hard for me to feel sorry for anybody who took part in what was going on out there. They are going to go over what you're talking about, though, in this movie. They're going to give her, they're going to show video of her reacting to it and all that stuff, too. But,
Okay.
but yeah, I don't know. I've kind of got and it's funny because I'm the left-leaning guy, but I have a zero tolerance for violent riots. Like, everybody who's out there past, I think the official BLM protest ended at 8 p.m. or something like that. I used to have all this stuff memorized. But they knew what they were there to do, and they were doing it. And, the other thing that was kind of weird that somebody pointed out was that she'd only been dating him for a month. And she acted like they were soulmates or something. And then she was immediately grifting. Like she had, a GoFundMe up because, of course, that was the way to get wealthy in that time. Acting like they were married or something, and they weren't, so I don't know what to make of it. But I'm not opposed to what you're suggesting. I don't know. Everybody who had any part of what was going on out there, they know what happened earlier. Everybody knows what happened to the guy at the furniture store. Everybody knows about the ice cream parlor that they burned down that was owned by Mexican immigrants, by the way, as in literally the guy who built the place was a Mexican immigrant. So they weren't really doing anything to convince the white man to stop shooting people. It was not, I just have so little tolerance for that stuff. And then when they're talking about have you ever seen anybody walk around as a medic armed with a gun before? Antifa does that all the time. They don't always have obvious guns, but they're armed, and they definitely walk around claiming to be medics when they're not. They end up hurting people and stuff like that. It happens all the time.
And by the way, her feelings about the father of Anthony Huber are going to play a big role in the upcoming lawsuit because she despises Anthony Huber's dad, John. If you remember, John was the one who flipped off the he flipped off the judge during that preliminary hearing.
Yeah.
But evidently, John, the father of Anthony Huber, abandoned his kid when he was just a young child, basically a baby. And Hannah on Facebook wrote a lot of really scathing things about him. The fact that he didn't love his son, he totally disregarded him. In the upcoming lawsuit, her testimony is going to be really big. And I think it could submarine John Huber's attempts to extract any money from Kyle Rittenhouse over this whole shooting deal, because he was not a grieving father. He talked in the actual preliminary hearing about how his son was not able to come and have Thanksgiving with him. He never spent any Thanksgivings with his son.
Yeah, and he had this crazy version of the story that Kyle was chasing Rosenbaum rather than the other way around. I did a video about that because he testified to that in court, and we're like, dude, just shut up. Come on. But, as there's a guy, I guess, who is there in Kenosha, said that it got quiet after the shooting. Yeah, I can imagine, because at that point, the fun was over. They're like, oh, we can't burn stuff and steal stuff anymore without any repercussions. Can't have that. See that Tucker's come back to us. What's up, Tucker?
Well, let me go ahead and fill in. I have a few videos on John Huber. If you're interested, go to my channel if you want to see what he's up to. But in my opinion, He is a money-chasing lowlife, and he's just simply trying to take advantage of this to extract some money from these agencies. He never had any love for his son at all.
Yeah, that's like
my view
everybody
of it.
just threw up a GoFundMe after they saw what happened to Jacob Blake. Like, you could be a rapist and get, become a millionaire by putting up a GoFundMe. It's just crazy to me. And then the other thing is they allowed that to go up and nobody ever said anything about it, but they wanted Kyle's GoFundMe taken down immediately. So anyway, all right. So Tucker's sharing with us he has never had this many disconnects. I'm sorry about that. I don't know. It's all like it's browser based. Like, normally people don't have this problem, but we are up to 83 people watching us, with 43 on my channel, 11 on Johnny's channel, 1 on my lone Twitch follower always comes on when I go live, which is the reason I still go to Twitch, because there's one guy who watches me on Twitch. And
this may be a record for me.
28 people on Twitter. 28 people on Twitter. Twitter's been pretty good for the algorithm, I gotta say. So anyway,
I'm usually your only person on Twitch.
Oh, is it you? Do you follow me on Twitch? Or
Usually, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm one of your mods. I'm a mod.
Oh, okay. Now I remember. It's been a while. Like, normally I let Tam handle that stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, me and Tam is. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So let me go ahead and you guys ready to go?
Right, carry on.
Yeah.
I am.
All right.
These guys aren't our enemy. They're just protecting the local business to keep it from happening last night happen again. These guys aren't our enemies. Come on.
How's it going? You guys want to fuck around and find out?
Hey.
You won't
Reel in. Reel in.
We all started looking around on top of the buildings. It was kind of like, holy shit, the alt-right exists.
I need you guys to stay off the front.
Holy shit, the alt-right exists. I'm sorry.
My word.
Yep, that's what it is.
Yeah.
If you want to defend the property,
Yeah.
you're the alt-right. Anyway, never mind.
It's like in England about now. Everything that's going on in England. If you're against people chopping up children and stuff, you're alt far right, and it's just crazy.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've been looking at that a bit. Are you? I assume from your accent, are you from England?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm from
Do you
Manchester.
ever watch Charlie Veitch?
No, I've never heard of it.
Okay, so he's a guy who used to go around different British protests, like carrying a megaphone, and he was kind of well known for it. Like, and the government had like special rules for him and stuff. But he's still over there. He's calmed down a lot because he has kids, so he doesn't like go to riots anymore. But he does cover protests and things like that. But anyway, I was curious because I've had him on my show a few times in the past. But anyway, folks, you guys ready to get back to the video?
Before we move on, hey guys, keep it clean in the chat, okay? No, there's some personal attacks going on there. We don't need that.
Yeah, cut it out with the personal attacks, guys. Just like, be like, what I would rather you do is just argue the facts. There's no reason to cuss at anybody about this. Anybody who actually studies the Kyle Rittenhouse stuff has all the facts they need anyway. So anyway, all right, here we go.
One of our guys had a laser pointer. They just hated that thing. They thought we were pointing a machine gun at them or whatever.
Hey, they aiming at us when we down there. Oh, were they? With the green laser.
There were a lot of protesters who were like, who the fuck are you and what are you doing? Pointing your gun at me.
Hey, your job isn't to be in the streets. You gotta stay on your property. That's why you got problems already with people.
People were throwing rocks and bricks at me. At one point, a water bottle flew up on the roof. And then it exploded. And the next thing I know, like, my eyes are burning and I'm like crying, like I can't breathe, like it was bad.
We're protecting from the citizens, and I just got pepper sprayed by a person in the crowd.
So you had non-lethal, but you didn't respond.
We don't have non-lethal.
So you guys are full on ready to defend the property?
Yes, we are. Now, if I can ask, can you guys step back?
The one person who stood out most was this guy with this red t-shirt wrapped around his head who came up to me and
So the reason I paused it is that scene where Kyle says, can I ask you guys step back, is because he literally went out at that point and offers medical to one of the people who's being carried along because they were shot in the foot with a rubber bullet. So, like, right after he gets pepper sprayed, he immediately walks out and wants to give medical attention to somebody in the crowd. So, and I have that clip on my channel if anybody wants to see it. But
That's a good point. Also, the lethal thing, the non-lethal, he was responding to a question about whether he was carrying lethal or not. And people took that as like a boast. Like, we don't have non-lethal, baby. We're here to shoot to kill. That's what they, I mean, this was a serious problem for quite a long time for Kyle because everybody assumed that he was bragging about having that AR-15 that could kill people.
right. Well, he didn't use it on anyone until they attacked him. So, anyway.
That's true. Yeah.
All right, let's keep going.
And said, if I catch any of you fuckers alone, I'm going to kill you. And I was scared. I learned later that was Mr. Rosenbaum.
These are the photos that I took of the unrest. They were pretty significant in court as evidence. These individuals that I caught just happened to be key players of the events that happened in Kenosha that night, such as Joseph Rosenbaum, armed with a chain. He had a lot of anger built up. In this photo right here, I took, and it shows Kyle and others cleaning graffiti off my old high school. I'm just glad that I was there that day and able to take this photo because it showed that Kyle came here to help out the community. He didn't just travel over state lines to murder people.
Showing you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 115. Could you tell me what that is?
That is a picture of a cone that is on fire with Rosenbaum with what I assume to be a bag that you just got out of jail with in an angry stance.
Do you remember what Mr. Rosenbaum said or did during that night?
He was very agitated. He was yelling, "Fuck the police," over and over and over. "I'm not afraid to go back to jail," and "Shoot me, N-word. Shoot me, N-word."
Shoot me! Shoot me!
From what I know about Joseph Rosenbaum, he had just been released from a mental institution and he didn't have anywhere else to go. So you just got a recipe for disaster here. Like, there's this mentally unhinged guy who was triggered by guns and all these wannabe military men flashing their shit around. You can see Anthony in that video come right up behind Joseph Rosenbaum, pulling him back away from the situation.
That doesn't look like him pulling him back to me.
It was a very strong feeling I had then of we should just get the fuck out of here while we can.
We appreciate you guys, we really do.
How did it make you feel when the police are handing out bottles of water, they're telling you that they appreciate you?
I didn't really care.
It didn't make you feel like they approved of what you were doing?
No.
It didn't make you feel like you're emboldened now to go out there and act on their behalf?
No.
These guys are kind of like medics who are packing. Yeah, right?
Thank you. There's guys on the rack. Be careful, right? Yeah, that white fence going right there.
Friendly, medic coming through, medic coming through, medic coming through.
You yelled friendly out, heading across the police line.
Yes.
Because you thought to yourself at that very moment, I'm walking into a group that is hostile to me?
Me and Ryan were walking around offering first aid to people, and then we got separated at the Ultimate gas station. So what I decided to do was go and try to get back to the car source lot.
And describe what happened as you did that.
As I was trying to get back, the police stopped me.
Okay, I work at that business. I am at that business, sir.
I wholeheartedly feel that if I was allowed to get back to the car source, I may never have had to defend myself.
Then what happens?
Dominic Black calls me and he says, Kyle, I need you to get down to the car source lot number 3. They're setting all the cars on fire. I need you to go and put the fires out.
Kyle went over there. I couldn't see anything, so I'm all ears right now.
I see them putting a dumpster on fire, and I tell them to please not set these fires.
I saw Kyle with the fire extinguisher in one hand and the rifle in the other. And that's right when Joseph Rosenbaum emerged out of the shadows and started running towards Kyle.
Oh, we got a gun, baby.
Mr. Rosenbaum was now running from my right side. And I was cornered from in front of me. And there were people right there.
Take a deep breath, Kyle.
That's what I... That's what I run.
Oh, we got a gun, baby.
This may be a good time to stop.
Shot him.
I would.
So, all right, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched. People are talking about like watching the footage. I watched every single piece of footage that was available, the entire streams of everybody that was there. That was like that took forever, but in some cases, like when I watched Mercado's stream, I got 3 seconds of Kyle walking across the street that would have been chronologically placed immediately after oh god, the guy who works with Daily Wires, I forget his name, brown
Richard
hair.
McGinnis.
Yeah, McGinnis. Like
Rich
right after
McGinnis.
his video turns off, and I'm like, where does Kyle go after this? And so I found a little clip in the Mercado Media stream of Kyle and Balch and McGinnis crossing the street.
I want to get that. I want. Yeah, I'd like to get that clip of where he said, and then Rosenbaum emerged from the shadows. That, because we get so many people, that we argue with who say he wasn't, he didn't hide and ambush him.
Mm-hmm.
We know damn well he did, but like that, where he says there, he emerged from the shadows and then started running after him. Well, like duh, yeah.
Yep, I remember what King Brandon is talking about here, omitting the part where Kyle yells friendly, friendly, friendly after Rosenbaum's group confronts him. Yeah, I remember that specifically. And the funny thing is like, I don't think anybody else ever talked about that. I bring it up in my documentary, but it was another part that didn't really come out in the trial either. The other thing that really burned me about the trial is that they didn't refer to, like, if I was this defense attorney, the firearm going off in the middle of that chase, which they're also not going to talk about in this documentary, by the way, should have been key to his, did you feel like you feared for your life? And I'll bring that up again when we get to that point, because I never
Yeah, that's
understood
true.
why
Yeah.
Rossi and what's his name didn't do it. But anyway, Johnny, are you talking? Go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm not used to having to unmute myself, but I
Yeah.
can tell you why they didn't bring that up. Because Kyle didn't bring that up during the police interrogation. And this is why it is so crucial that you always talk to a lawyer before you talk to the police. Kyle didn't bring that up. And a lawyer would have shut him down on that and said, hey, we ain't saying anything until we find out what the evidence is against you. And so the fact that Kyle didn't bring up the idea of the gunshot going off meant that if he had brought it up during the trial, he would open himself up for cross-examination on that point, in my opinion. I really wanted to stop this at this point because Kyle is undergoing a panic attack, and a lot of people have criticized him for faking this. That is real.
Right.
I'm sorry. I've been through a few of these because I teach. I've taught a lot of college courses, and I know what it's like to see a student who just simply comes undone. That is a real panic attack. You can't fake that. Okay, maybe if you've had a lot of drama teaching and like a lot of drama instruction, you can pull that off. No freaking way is the average person going to be able to pull that off. And there is also no way that a lawyer is going to coach somebody to do that. Lawyers don't do that. That's pure television. And so I'm really kind of tired of hearing this. Well, the lawyer team, they probably coached him to do that, or he's faking it. No way that is fake. That is real. That is an absolutely real panic attack.
He's recalling the night he nearly died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or in a night that he had to shoot people, as a kid, like that's definitely not fun.
Shoot people dead.
I had to shoot people to stay alive.
Right.
Yeah.
It would have taken a huge effort on Kyle's part not to come undone at that point.
By the way, guys, let me take this opportunity to remind all of you, please smash the like button and subscribe and ring the bell if you're new to my channel. Just
I know lots of
push us up on the algorithm, what little I can get. Being shadow banned as I am. So, but and if you guys are just checking me out on Twitter for the first time, make sure that you're following me there. So if you're not streaming to Twitter, you should do it, Johnny, because I get a lot of viewers there. I get more viewers on Twitter than I do anywhere else. And sometimes I get more viewers on Twitter than I do on YouTube, surprisingly. So they can't interact with you. Unfortunately, you can't see them in the chat, but you should be streaming to Twitter as well. All right. Anybody else got something?
Nope.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Was right behind them.
Get back. Shot him, man. Shot him.
By the time I realized what was happening, it was too late. It seemed like the life was leaving his body. A pair of legs arrived next to me, and I yelled, "Call 911."
Kyle calls me. I'm like, hello? He's like, I just shot somebody. I just shot somebody. I ask him, like, where are you at? Where are you at? What happened? And then he hangs up on me. And now I'm panicking.
What was the risk to you of death or great bodily harm at the moment you killed Joseph Rosenbaum?
If I would have let Mr. Rosenbaum take my firearm from me, he would have used it and killed me with it and probably killed more people if I would have let him get my gun.
You have the gun strapped to your body so it doesn't come off, correct?
Yes.
And even after you shoot him one time and he starts falling, you continue to shoot 3 more times, right?
I continued to shoot until he was no longer a threat to me.
Get a light on it! Get a light! Give me a fucking
fucking light.
Put pressure on it. Put fucking
Where?
pressure on it.
Where, dude? Where? Where's the hole?
Wait, where are you here?
Get the
He's
fucking
right here
mask
in
up.
his head. In his head. Come on. Put pressure.
The sound of his breathing was like a gurgle. And I could just see this like regret in his eyes.
Keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open. You shot him. Take him to the hospital. Hurry up. Get to the goddamn
And afterwards, people were saying that guy's a pedophile. Why did you try to save him? He got what he deserved. Nobody deserves to die drowning in their own blood, sounding like a gutted pig. Nobody deserves that.
Rosenbaum was the wild card in that whole crowd. If he wasn't there, everything would have been fine. And that's the shame of it, setting off that chain reaction. Now Kyle's, dumping rounds into him and running away. And what is someone who doesn't really have the whole picture going to think?
I just remember seeing this kid. He kind of reminded me like of my little brother or something like that, running with the gun.
Get down behind Simon.
All right.
Panic just started to set in.
Hey, what are you doing? You shot somebody? Who shot? Who shot? Hey, stop him!
I looked at Anthony and I immediately knew what he was about to do. And he ran to try to apprehend this kid with nothing but a skateboard. And that was the last time I saw him alive.
As I hit the ground, I see this guy coming at me. He did a flying kick. I fired 2 shots at him. I missed. Another guy bashes his skateboard into my head. A skateboard is a deadly weapon and could very well have killed me. I saw Anthony Huber swing his skateboard at Kyle. And that's when Kyle pointed up and shot him. He turned around with his hands on his chest. And he took a couple steps and fell to his knees. And then just went down to his face.
I hear more gunshots. So in my head, I'm just like, oh my gosh, he's shooting more people. Like it's a nightmare.
You didn't know the name Anthony Huber, did you?
I did not.
And when you shoot him, the end of that gun was pointed directly at his chest when you pulled the trigger, correct?
Yes.
And you knew that, correct?
Yes.
And you still pulled the trigger, didn't you?
Yes.
Because you intended to kill Anthony Huber at that moment, didn't you?
No.
What did you think was going to happen?
That he would no longer be a threat to my safety.
Because he'd be dead.
Can we take a second here?
For me, an undertone with this entire...
Now we get into the Gage Grosskreutz stuff. But anyway, yeah, what's up?
Can we take a moment and understand the terror that went through Dominic Black's mind? He basically just said, I hear more gunshots. He's shooting more people with Dominic's rifle. I mean,
yeah.
the thing that, and this is what really bothers me a lot about this whole Kenosha deal, is everybody talks about Kyle this, Kyle that. Dominic has been left out of this conversation, but he must have went through a horrible night. I mean, he basically lets Kyle use a gun of his own, and Kyle uses it for whatever reasons, justified or not, doesn't matter as far as Dominic is concerned. He kills two people, injures a third, and keep in mind, Dominic has to answer to his parents as well.
Right.
So he must have been horrified by what he was hearing. I mean, this is real trauma.
Yeah. Well, they definitely kind of realized that this wasn't a game pretty quick at that point.
Yeah.
Did you have anything, Tucker?
Yep. Not really. But Nathan, seeing Nathan break down is like,
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
honestly probably the nicest person involved with any of this stuff. Yeah, and he
Oh,
was.
come on, Grambo's nice.
Well, no, she's nice, but I don't think she's the personality that would have been crying over somebody getting shot in front of her. Whereas, Nathan is such a sensitive, good person.
Another thing I would mention is that Kyle's comments seem a little bit too overly prepared.
Well, yeah, especially the ones on the witness stand, I was like, well, he's reading off the standard. Like, I've been trained by a lawyer to say, I kept firing until he was no longer a threat to me, or like, I was eliminating a threat to me. Like, the stuff that they tell you to say. That was pretty obvious, but I remember that during the trial.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
his
But he was incredibly prepared, but
so
incredibly,
though,
very, very prepared.
He clearly had
he's the only
lines.
one facing litigation, right?
Right.
So, I mean, I get it, but I also kind of felt it wasn't real genuine.
Right.
I mean, it might have been technically correct. I mean, it might have been true to what he was thinking, but it just seems real robotic. I mean, this is legalese, right?
Right.
And the other thing is that Hannah talks about her boyfriend Anthony going after Kyle, and my feeling about it is when you hear shots going off, your duty is to protect your girlfriend.
Well, I think he thought that's what he was doing, but they had turned the whole thing into he was a mass shooter, and that was their impression, was that he was just running around shooting random people. I'm like probably the day after this all happened, somebody put out this really funny meme: Kyle Rittenhouse, the only mass shooter to run from his victims, because he was literally trying to run the entire time. But that is how they tried to, an active shooter, mass shooter, they tried to frame it as that, when he literally only fired his gun at people who attacked him and then did not shoot at anyone else. That's
absolutely. Yep.
My understanding from Hannah's earlier comments was that they were protected. They were in a protected area, and then he went out to go after Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
And in my opinion, I can't really support that. You have your girlfriend there. Your job is to protect her above all else. But then again, maybe I'm a little biased here.
Well, we're about to get into Gage Grosskreuz's stuff in here, and that actually does bring up an interesting point, because the moment is right there. But during the course of Gage's testimony, and this is something I confronted Gage with in the few, various times I've argued with him on my YouTube comments as well as on Twitter, was that he believed, because of what Balch said earlier, that as far as the cops told us we're going to push them towards you and then you deal with them. He believed that Kyle was working with the police, which is the reason why he ordered them to stop Kyle rather than allowing Kyle to just go to the police, which he was very clearly doing. I don't know what Gage thought his plan would have been if they had successfully captured Kyle, because he didn't want him to go to the police. I don't know what they thought they were going to do with him. Are they going to kidnap him and make him fess up that he's working for the police or whatever it is? But he literally believed that Kyle was working for the police, and that's why he shot a protester. He testified to that in court, and
Well,
so
that's whole part of his civil trials now. Really,
yeah.
Cal was working with the police. We've got all this. He didn't. The police didn't let him back to Car Doctor because they wanted him to go back into the riots and shoot people. That's that's it. That's the reason behind that. He just
Anyway.
wants to win his civil trials. Yeah.
Well, we'll see how all that goes. Anything else before we hit play, guys?
Nope.
All right, cool.
No, I'm done.
Right. Enter Gage Grosskreutz.
Entire situation is this idea of what it means to be a man, and I think a very immature vision of that is this big strong man who can defend himself with force and will dispatch their enemies, but restraint is important. Being able to know when to act and how to react. So when I arrived in Kenosha, I had been working as a medic for a couple years. I carried everything that I carried with me at other protests. So backpack full of medical equipment, keys, wallet, and my gun. I never leave home without one. So this is my .357 Smith & Wesson Magnum revolver. Different from the one that I was carrying that night in Kenosha. My instinct was to do exactly what Anthony did. Try and disarm this kid. I am now face to face with him, and he's on the ground and he points his rifle up at me.
Can you help me understand, Mr. Rittenhouse, why he's got a pistol not aimed at you? You've got an AR-15 aimed at him. Why is he more of a threat to you than you are to him?
Because he was moving at me with a gun in his hand.
He never steps back and puts the gun in both hands in a ready aim position towards you, does he?
He doesn't do that.
This is right after you've killed Anthony Huber. And you're telling us Gage Grosskreutz is the real threat at this moment?
Yes.
He tried to shoot me with my hands up. The gun jammed. But even facing death, I knew that I wouldn't hurt him, couldn't hurt him, and it's just not the person that I am.
I've been trying to get on the back. Where are you back? Oh, fuck! In your bag? It's loaded. It's loaded. Keep it right there. We're coming out to you.
There were 2 people who lost their lives that night.
We're coming out to you.
The state calls Gage Grosskreutz.
And many, many more whose lives were affected. I saw that testimony as an opportunity to say my piece.
Have you ever been convicted of a crime?
Yes.
How many times?
1. But unfortunately, it felt like I was the one on trial.
Mr. Grosskreutz, I'm going to show you what has been marked as Exhibit 67. That's a photo of you, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Does this look like right now your arm is being shot?
That looks like my bicep being vaporized, yes.
Okay.
One of my biggest regrets in life will always be not sticking up for myself more when I was on the stand.
When you were standing 3 to 5 feet from him with your arms up in the air, he never fired, right?
Correct.
You'd agree your firearm is pointed at Mr. Rittenhouse, correct?
Yes. He got me into a position where I admitted to something that I didn't feel was true.
It wasn't until you pointed your gun at him, advanced on him, with your gun, now your hands down, pointed at him, that he fired, right?
Correct. I didn't lower my gun intentionally. I mean, I just had my bicep blown off. If your hands are up like this and you get shot, it stops working.
My rifle is down, his hands are up, his pistol is in his hand, and then Mr. Grosskreutz looks at me, and that's when Mr. Grosskreutz brings his arm down like this, and his pistol is pointed at me, and that's when I shoot him.
It's not what happened. It's just not.
So this is like pure copium on the part of Gage Grosskreutz, also known as Paul Prediger. He's like trying to reframe it now because he knows what an idiot he made of himself. And I literally play that clip back for him every time he argues with me on Twitter. And he's saying he should have stood up for himself. Like, does he look like he was intimidated? You know, like, was he scared of Shivarasi? He wasn't being badgered. Shivarasi wasn't yelling at him, raising his voice. Like, he didn't stick up for himself is what he's trying to say. And he agreed to something that isn't true. The thing is that the evidence makes it obvious that it was true. He went from holding his hands up to not holding his hands up. That's what happened. The gun came down, Kyle fires. That's all on video. I think he's just desperately trying to save his civil trial at this point. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
For some reason, when I pointed my pistol at him, he shot me.
Well, here's the problem that Gage has. And by the way, I've had a lot of discussions with Gage over the past 6 months or so. Believe it or not, Gage has told me that he does not have any ill feelings towards Kyle at all. And if you don't understand that, that's because you didn't subscribe to my channel when I had a video out where I discussed exactly what Gage told me. But Gage told me, I don't have any ill feelings towards Kyle. He also told me that Binger told him that he wished he had killed Kyle that night. And again, if this is new news to you, that's why you want to subscribe to the Johnny Walker Dread Show.
Right.
But at any rate, Gage has got a real problem here. Because if he's suing Kyle, he's going to have to take the stand. This is a civil trial. So he's going to have to take the stand because he's trying to extract money from Kyle. So he can't do this. Well, you know, it's a Fifth Amendment crap, right? Mark Richards is going to skewer him because he's already testified that he pointed the gun at Kyle. And so now to backtrack and say, well, it was the gunshot, then why did you say under oath that you pointed the gun at Kyle? Well, I was intimidated by Shirafasi. That ain't going to cut it. And I've told Gage this. I've said, hey, man, you know what? Maybe I didn't tell him this. I think I just publicly stated that it would be better for Gage to try to extract as much money as he could from the city governments and then walk away from this because he does not want to sue Kyle. He has to take the stand, and Mark Richards is far better than Kimberly Motley. Remember, Kimberly is the one that prepared him for his defense. I'm sorry, for his testimony, for which he just got absolutely leveled by Shirafasi.
Yeah, he kept looking at the jury going, that is correct. That is correct. Like he would turn away from the person he was talking to look at the jury. It was crazy. You could make a meme of it, you know, just like of a guy just turning and looking at that shit. That is correct. That is correct. Like turning his head towards the jury every single time.
And Shirafasi picked up on the fact that Gage was very proud of his paramedic thing, right? So he walked him right down into admitting that he feared that Kyle was in danger. He is not going to be able to backtrack on that. So he's got a serious problem.
I guess you can chat on X because I just got my first X comment in the chat. That's interesting. Sorry, guys. Yeah.
Oh, that's one of our girls. That's one of our girls from Kyle's Angels.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, who is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it was YJZ.
Yeah, I need to. I know her real name, so I've got to be careful what I say. So
I have a question here. So did he lie then? Ooh, you dropped it
Oh,
away
sorry
from me.
about that. Yeah.
So did he lie then, or is he lying in the civil suit? Inquiring minds want to know. We're going to find out when he has to take the stand. Um, and and I think that he's in serious trouble. He's just not a guy, in my opinion, that can get on there and go up against a seasoned lawyer and be able to hold his line.
Well,
Maybe he did. Maybe the gunshot did cause him to drop the pistol down. Maybe so. But Mark Richards is going to rip him a good one on this. And I really would not be. I would not want to be Gage Grosskreutz on the stand against Mark Richards.
well, and what I don't understand is the whole argument is that you're going to sue the city of Kenosha because they allowed a violent thing to happen. I'm like, it just comes down to this. If this is the same thing I said to Never Stop Voices, who's another one of the streamers who was there, who had the misfortune of debating me on my stream. If those of you guys want to watch that, I beat the crap out of him. But anyway, you can find that in my live stream history. But the argument is that somehow the cops should have done something. You guys would not have wanted the cops to do what would have had to have been done. As I said, there's plenty of footage of armed protesters with firearms. Some of them were shooting at a police bearcat. You want to put down a riot that's shooting at you? If you think you're upset that a rapist got shot 8 times in the back, a lot more people would die if the cops had to disperse that riot. If you want the cops to get rid of them, which you don't, what you really want is for people to, if they're mad about something, to be allowed to, with impunity, just burn and destroy and attack anyone they want. That's what they really want. That's what this, I mean, they never want to come out and say that out loud, but they act like, because when they say things like Kyle had no right to be there, nobody had a right to be there. It was a riot past curfew. That's what I said to Lynn Wood when I had him on my show. And then he said the same thing to Wendy. And then Wendy said it to Fox. I thought that was pretty funny. But nobody had any right to be there. Why would anybody else have a right to be there? You're there destroying the property of people who have nothing to do with your grievance. Anyway, so go ahead before we move on.
Well, one major point. This is very important to nail down that if your first name is Kimberly, I am sorry, but Kimberly Motley has the same first name as you. Therefore, you're kind of the same person, and that goes for you out there, gothic conservative girl. Yeah, I'm really thinking that what's going to happen here is that the cities that Gage is suing are just going to offer him some go away money, and that'll be the end of it. I really don't think this is going to go to trial, but I could be wrong. I just don't see it. I mean, I think it's stupid. If you can get $20,000 out of the cities, or maybe $50,000 out of the cities, take it and run. Because if you try to go further with this and try to extract money from Kyle over this shooting, this is going to be really, really complex.
All right, here we go.
Hindsight being 2020. If I would have known that I would have been violently attacked and put in a situation where I needed to defend myself, I would have stayed at home. I can't stop thinking about what they did to me, how they tried to kill me.
By the time I got back over there, the only thing on my mind was, where was Anthony?
Walking, miss. Just keep walking.
I just held on for so long. I was not gonna believe that he was dead. He never went anywhere without a skateboard, so this place was his happy place, for sure. We were just so happy with each other.
High five, dude. High five. High five, dude.
Never had somebody who genuinely loved me like that. I really saw the vision for our future, and it was just so painful that that was just gone in such an instant. The way that Anthony died was exactly the way I would have pictured him going out. Like as a hero in action and doing the right thing. He was shot through his lung, straight through his heart, and then got stuck like right up in his collarbone. There was no way he could have survived the angle of the shot and everything. One of my big grievances with the trial is they say Kyle Rittenhouse acted in self-defense.
What that skateboard would do is somebody takes it in their hand and swings down on somebody's shoulder, head, and neck, trying to separate the head from the body.
Like, give me a break. Anthony had a skateboard. That's not a threat to your life.
So I got a comment here. These people always
I've
say
got
that
one as
stuff
well.
about skateboards. It's like I got video of a guy from Antifa hitting a guy over the head in the skateboard and just knocking him out clean. Head wound. It's just another blunt object. If you put the trucks on someone's head, you could absolutely hit them. But like, the other thing that I find interesting, because they're doing a good job here of trying to humanize Anthony Huber, but like during the trial, they tried that very same thing, and Richards and Schifferossi were like, oh, okay. If we're headed in that direction, then I'd like to start talking about, Anthony Huber's history of domestic violence and all that stuff. And the judge had to pause it real quick and go, I need the jury to step out. Like, and then he's like, okay, is this the direction we're headed? And then like the prosecution immediately said, all right, never mind. We're not going to do that. But when they tried to humanize Huber, they were like, well, if we're going to talk about him as a person, then we get to talk about him too, because he has a history of domestic violence, putting a knife to his brother's throat, threatening to burn down his grandmother's house. Like, he was not a good person. Like, you could play as many videos of him on skateboards as you want. Go ahead, Tucker.
I was going to go on the Full Metal Jacket argument that Bingo was always going on about, and saying like the Full Metal Jacket, it will like rip through people and go through the next person. And yet she just admitted that the bullet entered his chest and went through his lung and through his heart and then stopped at his collarbone. It's like, is it such a violent bullet, or isn't it? It only went it probably only traveled about 8-9 inches.
Well, the thing about it is,
what I mean?
Well, prosecutors are always going to take whatever bullet you used and try to use it against you. So if he had used hollow points, guess what the narrative would have been then? Right? I mean, you used hollow points, the ones that flatten out, And so I really wish judges would shut this down a little bit earlier, but the choice of bullet is almost always going to be irrelevant. Let's face it. When you go into an ammo shop, you just buy what's ever on sale. It's like you're not sit there selecting like, oh, I might have an intruder. I want this, gruesome killer 14B. Nobody does that. They look at the ammo. They basically buy what's on sale, unless they're a real purist. Kyle had no inkling of which ammo to use, and I don't think he even bought the ammo. I think Dominic bought it. So
we have a question here
from, they don't care.
Just real quick, because this is easy. The question from Twitch: what is the name of this documentary? It is called Kyle, the Gunman Who Divided a Nation. So that's what we're watching right now. Sorry, go ahead, guys.
That's New York Girl. I know who that is.
Oh, okay. The whole idea that a skateboard can't be a lethal weapon is ridiculous, and in fact, skateboarders know very well how lethal they are. You're talking in physics-wise, you're talking about swinging a very heavy object with a pretty small cross section. The pressure is going to be very high. You can absolutely kill somebody with it, and plenty of people have died from it. I mean, I know one instant in Eureka, California, where a guy was hit in the abdomen with one and died from it. So they are very lethal. And the truth of it is, the skateboarders use them as weapons because they're easy to swing. You grab a skateboard by the back trucks and you can swing that thing very effectively. It's a club.
So,
which is exactly what Huber did.
Well, yeah,
That's
I'd rather be
exactly
hit
what
by a
Huber
club.
yeah, not just once, twice. In fact, they show the clip of it in here because that came up. Paul, meaning Logical Checkmate, did a thing on this. So did I. But Anthony ran up behind him, swings and hits Kyle in the head once, and that's actually what caused him to stumble and fall down.
Actually,
and then
he
he comes
missed.
up and hits him again. Well, it looked like he hit him to me, but that's
No,
what I
he
saw on
missed.
my video. But
He missed
regardless,
by about 2 inches.
so
And
we
if he had
have
hit Kyle, he would have killed him. I'm convinced.
he was
or
definitely
paralyzed him.
swinging at 360. I
Yeah.
remember that.
So, and the reason why he let go of he lost control of the skateboard was because he missed. And so he runs.
He swung his toe hard.
Yeah, so he runs and grabs the skateboard and hits him again with it. But the first attempt was a really wide swipe that if it had connected, it probably would have killed Kyle or at least, paralyzed him because it would have hit him right in the neck area. Go ahead.
What about white t-shirt guy? The guy who hit him before Huber did?
Yeah,
Did he hit him with a rock?
It looked like he hit him with with his fist, but like whatever it is, he's another person who just never got identified.
Yeah, it's hard to say much about him.
So
it's like Johnny's trying to find the green t-shirt guy from the Ultimate.
Well, the question I never got answered was, there's a whole lot of firearms going off in the background when Kyle is backing away from people after he shot a couple of them. And we never identify who fired them. And I remember the night that all this happened, there was a clip of somebody in green firing a firearm while all of that was going on. It was a rifle. And I've never seen that footage ever again. But I have a feeling that's who it was.
Actually, in private DM, somebody has told me who it is. I have never disclosed it because I just cannot confirm it.
That's fair.
I would suggest I'm 70% sure that I know who did that, but I'm not going to disclose.
I was told it was.
I'm not sure. Go ahead.
I was told it was Zeminski, but whether that's true or not, I don't know.
No, not the caliber of this gun. No, it was definitely a rifle.
It was a bit. It was a lot further away as well. It was like 150, 200 yards down the road. So Zeminski firing wouldn't have made that noise.
So we are now up to 107 viewers total, with actually now 50 on X and 37 on YouTube and 16 in Johnny's YouTube and 4 on Twitch.
By the way,
I told a few people to share it out before it all happened. I told a few people to just share it out, so hopefully they did.
What were you going to say, Johnny? Sorry.
There's a lot of talk about what Kyle claimed after being hit. He's been through a lot of trauma. He probably doesn't have a very good recollection of what happened. The fact that he claimed that he got hit by a baseball bat is probably meaningless. I mean, I would not trust that testimony at all because of what he went through.
Well, I mean, if you're getting hit in the back of the head with a wooden object, there's no reason to think it wasn't a baseball bat,
right?
Honestly.
Yeah. He's probably saying it kind of felt like a baseball bat, and he just presumed it was, really.
But yeah, that was one of those,
he said this to Dominic, and he has to sell this because he thinks he just got Dominic in a lot of trouble. And so he's going to but it was a baseball bat. He's going to play this thing up. I don't think that his testimony about the baseball bat is worth anything at all.
Right.
Was this in Car Doctor? Was this in Car Doctor when he made his way back there?
No, I think that it was the hit by the man in the wife beater that he claimed that it was a baseball bat. But go ahead.
No, I mean when he was talking to Dominic, was it when he was talking to Dominic in Car Doctor when he
No,
when he got back
I think
there?
it was on. I think it was in the. Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I think it was after the hits when he went in, and Dominic came down and he saw Kyle all like totally stressed out, and I think that's when
Right.
Kyle told him, "Hey, I was hit by a baseball bat." But again, I think he's just
Right.
trying to calm Dominic down that, hey, it was in self defense. But I don't think the testimony is worth anything.
All right.
Right.
You guys ready to continue?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now you've heard the evidence, and it's time to search for the truth. Consider whether it makes someone a hero when they lie about being an EMT, whether or not it's heroic or honorable to provoke and shoot unarmed people. You cannot claim self-defense against a danger you create.
This case is not a game. It is my client's life. Every person who was shot was attacking Kyle.
He was attacked.
It was an assault rifle.
We shouldn't have 17-year-olds running around our streets with AR-15s, because this is exactly what happens. No reasonable person would have done what the defendant did. He is guilty of all counts. Thank you.
Because he was requested to come down. He was trying to help people, and he was attacked.
Ladies and gentlemen, the evidence only leads to one conclusion. There are no winners in this case, but putting Kyle Rittenhouse down for something he was privileged to do will serve no legitimate purpose. I ask you to do justice here under the law of the state of Wisconsin. Thank you very much.
This is one of the most highly anticipated verdicts in the nation as the nation awaits the fate of Kyle Rittenhouse.
They deliberated so long. You feel like you're walking somebody to the gallows because you don't know that they're coming back with you.
Has the jury reached a verdict as to each count of the information?
Yes, we have, Your Honor.
The defendant will rise, face the jury, and hearken to its verdicts.
State of Wisconsin versus Kyle Rittenhouse. As to the first count of the information, Joseph Rosenbaum. We, the jury, find the defendant, Kyle H. Rittenhouse, not guilty. As to the second count of the information, we, the jury, find the defendant, Kyle H. Rittenhouse, not guilty.
Weight of the world gone.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Kyle H. Rittenhouse, not guilty.
It was a hard journey, and it was a
The information, Anthony Huber. We, the jury, find the defendant, Kyle H. Rittenhouse, not guilty. Gage Rosekreutz. We, the jury, find the defendant, not guilty.
Members of the jury, are these your unanimous verdicts? Is there anyone who does not agree with the verdicts as read?
It's over. I don't have to worry that I'm going to prison for exercising my lawful rights to self-defense. The jury got it right.
Innocent! Woo! Kyle Rittenhouse is not guilty because he wasn't guilty to begin with.
Not guilty on all counts. I think it's the right thing.
It's bullshit! It's bullshit! That ain't fucking right!
The court did not fail today. That's what makes me want to be an American, is to get just verdicts from jurors.
I was fearful of the precedent that it set. Now, apparently, if you feel nervous because someone is in your face, it's all right to shoot him with an AR-15 point blank.
I miss Anthony every single day. And now this system.
That is so disingenuous. That's not what happened. He didn't just shoot, Rosenbaum because he was in his face. Oh my God, that guy's insufferable. Sorry. Anyway, go ahead.
Keep in mind, he's supposed to be a professional journalist, or at least trying to be a professional journalist. But what I heard from him is what I see on Twitter. Like, come on, do better than this. I mean, you didn't watch the trial, Corey? You didn't. It's one thing to still think that Kyle is guilty. Okay, we could talk about that. But to make a claim that, well, all Kyle did was just shoot somebody who looked at him cross-eyed, I just can't understand how somebody who was a trial witness could come up with that conclusion and still call himself a journalist.
Right. Well, we're almost
That was
done,
Corey.
so we go
Was
ahead
that
go ahead and
that
finish.
was Corey Washington? Was it?
Yeah,
Oh my
it
God!
was.
Wow!
He was the one who
Wow!
was out screaming on a skateboard.
And by
All
the
right,
way,
anyway.
one more
Yeah,
thing I
yeah.
should
Oh
mention.
yeah.
Binger said no 18-year-old should be carrying around a gun. Unfortunately for Binger, that's not a legal argument. And that's the problem that with this whole trial. He wasn't really trying Kyle on a legal argument. He was trying it on an emotional argument. How do you feel about a kid, 17 years old, walking around with a gun? Oh my gosh, yeah, that's terrible. Let's convict him. But unfortunately, the law doesn't support that. If you go down and you read the elements of the actual crimes, Kyle didn't match up to them. And that's what sunk Binger's case right from the get-go. My criticism of Binger is that he should never have tried this in the first place. And he's almost
Absolutely.
admitting
Yeah.
that he didn't have the evidence against Kyle. And this goes back to that CVS footage. You remember, where Kyle bragged about wanting to shoot looters. And I've always said, if that's what you needed to convict him, despite the fact that you had 2 hours of video footage of the dude, you had numerous eyewitnesses, you had lots of forensic evidence, and the dude took the stand. And you have to rely on a CVS video footage from 2 weeks earlier to convict. You have no case. You have no case at all. And why even then bring this to trial?
So I'm pretty sure that the documentary was made by the BBC. I believe that's what I was told. So just to answer Tam's question. All right, we're almost done, so let's go ahead and finish it.
System is telling me that nobody needs to answer for that. And I have a problem with that.
No.
You know as well as I know, if that was a black teenager, even with the self-defense laws on the books in Wisconsin, that young man would probably be dead or he would be going to prison, right?
Real quick. So like literally the same day that Kyle was exonerated, a black man more specifically, was able to get off on self-defense as a plea when he was shot at and killed cops. I think he killed like 3 of them.
Yeah,
So,
his name was it Copper?
yeah, I don't remember. I
Something
have to
like
look
that.
it up because some guy in Facebook's like, you tell me when a black man could get away with this, I'll wait. And I'm like, okay, here you go. And I gave him the link.
I know his name. I know it was Andrew Coffey. Andrew Coffey,
Coffey.
it was, and yep.
Is that Brandon Johnson there on screen?
I don't know.
Mayor of Chicago?
But you just remember that guy, what was it, like Simpkins? There was a kid who literally shot people in a school and got out the same night.
He took his gun. Yeah.
$20,000 bail.
It was,
did not get killed. Shot 4 people in
I
a
don't think
school
it was
and got
that.
out the same day.
Yeah.
But anyway.
He deliberately took a gun to school and shot people and he was out there like immediately.
Plenty of examples.
Yeah.
Plenty.
All right. Anyway.
Yep.
Kyle Rittenhouse is not guilty, my friends. You have a right to defend yourselves. Be armed, be dangerous, and be moral.
Already, far-right groups are calling Rittenhouse the hero we've been waiting for.
It's been a rough journey, but we made it through it. We made it through the hard part.
This is how fascism grows. This is how violence erupts.
There are those who believe that white America is under siege. And so here we have this young man who's now become the poster child for this sense of panic. Don't be surprised if Kyle Rittenhouse isn't speaking at the Republican convention.
They can indict
a young boy for simply defending himself, they can come after every single one of you. So, ladies and gentlemen, please, let's get loud for Kyle Rittenhouse.
Immediately after I got acquitted, I went on to this huge media tour to talk about my story.
Kyle, what was so amazing is throughout this entire process, you came out on top. Talk a little bit about how that has developed you as a person.
Well, it's helped me grow a lot. It's helped me mature. Sorry, I'm new to this, if you can't tell. But it's helped me.
We love you, Kyle. Don't worry.
Give it up for Kyle Rittenhouse.
I wanted a private, secluded life. I didn't want to be famous.
Not guilty. Do you feel bad for Rosenbaum? Not really.
Now there were people recognizing me in public, a little bit starstruck. It was good to meet you, sir.
Good to meet you, too. I like what you done up there in Yankee Lynch and shot all them bastards.
It was just, surreal.
He's a really good young guy. He's 18 years old. Just left Mar-a-Lago a little while ago. And he should never have been put through that.
I met President Trump and Tucker Carlson.
So nice to meet you.
Really good to meet you.
I can't believe you're
Big
here.
fan of your show. Well, we're fans of yours, as you know. Yeah.
I know he likes the attention, and he's got some very high up, important people as friends.
Marjorie Taylor Greene introduced a bill this week to award Kyle Rittenhouse the Congressional Gold Medal.
It makes him feel powerful, like he's some, political figure.
I'm Kyle Rittenhouse, and I'm here with National Association for Gun Rights at the Western Conservative Summit, and I'm going to be doing interviews.
I think he forgets the fact that if he had never done what happened on that night,
You're a hero to millions.
those people would never be his friends.
What happened with Kyle is a disgrace. Total defamation. Lies. Coming from the devil himself.
This kid is a symptom of a greater disease. He lived out a fantasy that a lot of Americans would love to be a part of, and I mean that in justifiably killing somebody.
Okay, you're not a murderer in the court of law, but you're still a killer. Show remorse. Don't monetize video games that are about killing people after you cry on the stand and say, oh, I was so scared. You don't seem scared now. You seem to be trying to reap the rewards of killing people.
I'm Kyle Rittenhouse, and I'm partnering with Armored Republic to provide free men with the tools of liberty.
It's just crazy. It's crazy to be back here for the first time since the incident. A little bit of an anxiety spike just coming back here, and it's like a little bit of an adrenaline rush. My senses are heightened. There are a lot of firearms out here, and you just have to keep your head on a swivel and be situationally aware. This is car source lot number 3 we're pulling into right now. So this is where my shooting happened. Last time I was here, I was being met with an attacker. I'm 21 years old. I have a long future ahead of me. I'm ready to move on with my life and stop having this single moment define me.
After the trial ended, the DA had called me asking about the gun, because the gun was mine. I had people offering me money for that gun, but
the Rittenhouse rifle will be destroyed at the State Crime Laboratory on this 25th day of February, 2022.
that gun has killed people, and it should not be hung on a wall as like a trophy. So I called the DA and told him to destroy it. I don't see Kyle anymore. And the last time I saw him was on my 21st birthday. But I could just tell that he was a different person. His mom and his sisters, nobody can get hold of him. I wouldn't call him a brother anymore.
All right, well, that's it. So what did you guys think? First, real quick, I'm going to read. So according to the poll, as it currently stands, it is, do you find this documentary fair and balanced? 62% said yes, 38% said no. Some people did say they wanted to change their vote, so I'm going to restart the poll.
Well, the poll was supposed to be about what you have seen so far, right?
Yeah, so we'll see if anything changed. But anyway, go ahead, guys. What were your comments?
Shout out to Grambo in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh, was she in there?
Yeah, she commented saying
Yeah,
that Dominic
yeah.
speaks the truth. She said Dominic speaks
Grambo's in the chat. Yeah.
Well, I'll say this. Corey Washington mentioned something about Kyle not showing remorse. I don't think remorse is the word that people need to be reaching for. Kyle doesn't need to be sorry for what he did because he acted in self-defense. But I think he should at least recognize the gravity of what happened. And I don't get the sense that he does.
Yeah, well, that's what happens. I mean, he's not mature. He's still like a kid.
I mean,
yeah, he's only 21. Only 20.
Two people are dead. A third person has been pretty badly wounded. But keep in mind, there are a lot of other victims. And we've heard from one at the very end there. Dominic Black was facing 16 years in prison himself. Nobody thought about him. In fact, those who thought about him were complaining that Dominic was an evil person because he wasn't Kyle's buddy on the stand. But Dominic has basically suffered here almost, I would say, more than just about anybody. He certainly has suffered more than Kyle has.
So, yeah,
Kyle's great.
I'm glad he turned his life around and he's got a nice new beautiful baby and stuff.
He's got 2 kids. But
has he got 2 kids now? Wow.
But he has 2 kids, and I and a few others know the horrible things that have happened to him. I can't share them, but if you knew, you would also agree that he really is Kenosha's last victim. His life was absolutely tore apart. And Kyle came back, and he's now the darling of a lot of people. He goes out, people are, a lot of people hate him, but a lot of people adore him. Dominic doesn't have any of that. And he has suffered greatly on account of all this, and everybody's forgotten about him. I talk to him somewhat regularly, and I can tell you this whole thing took out a huge toll on him. Remember, he was wanting to become an Air Force recruit and go and be a commercial pilot. All that vanished because Kyle shot
Really?
up.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because keep in mind,
that's a shame.
And this is something I think it's important to understand. He was wanting to go into the Air Force, but Binger had charges against him that were gun charges. And if Binger had taken this and appealed it, it would have taken over a year for that appeal to run through. And in the meantime, the Air Force is not going to take Dominic Black. So when Binger offered him this gravy, like non-criminal ticket, of course Dominic's going to take that. I mean, who wouldn't? And unfortunately, it never worked out for Dominic. Things really came apart on him. But about maybe a year ago, he met with a girl. He's had a couple of kids. He just recently got married. He's got a full-time job. Things have worked out for Dominic, but it was really hard for a long time, and everybody kind of forgot about him.
So Grambo in the chat
Well,
said that this
yeah.
was not what they told her the documentary would be. I do think that they did a good job of representing Anne. I think her clips were good. I don't, at least there's that. But like, but yeah, in general, I still get the vibe that like they're treating the people that he killed like they're the victims somehow. But so I did want to take a quick moment to play this brief clip for the people who
You've
don't
got to
understand.
realize it.
Go ahead.
Before you go there, you've got to realize this is the British Broadcasting Company.
Yeah.
British TV is like totally anti-gun and everything. Yeah, I mean, I'm from there. I know what these people are like. They are so anti-gun. Anyone with a gun is a lunatic, as far as they're concerned, and they're going to make the most of this to go anti-gun. You know, so that's how the BBC. You know.
Yeah, Kyle's mom, Wendy, asked me about whether she should go on the BBC thing. I just said, look, the BBC is not going to want to paint Kyle in a good light. I don't know if I swayed her one way or the other. And I really did think that in the end, the documentary came out a lot better than I was expecting.
Yeah, I will give him that. I think I've definitely seen worse coverage, you know,
By the
but
way, Citizen Ann says here, none of you know what it is to take a life. It haunts you. It doesn't matter if it's in self-defense or not. It devastates you. I agree with you, Citizen Ann Grambo, but the trouble is that Kyle is not projecting that.
Right.
In no way does Kyle come across as a person who's devastated by this, and I have real issues with that.
I think he's just buried now in like the persona that he's creating at this point.
I agree.
Especially like so much of that stuff, like all the different, like, you know, as Anne is talking about them using him, like that stuff with him in the tactical gear with his eyes peering through the gas mask, and it's like the selling the tools of liberty. I was like, oh my god, dude, you become a Ronald McDonald for the conservative movement. It's like, and I say that, and I am a pro-gun guy. Okay, I'm literally like, there's a carbine right under my bed as we speak. But it's like, that whole thing was so over the top. But anyway, so I want to play this clip here real quick to kind of give the point. This went on before Kyle and Ann and everybody showed up. But like, when they're wetting their pants about bringing a gun to a protest, show them this.
Oh, is this the bear cat?
Yeah, you'll see it.
Yeah, it's the bear cat. I've seen this.
A lot of people haven't.
Oh, they're gonna shoot the gas.
Yeah, oh.
Kick that shit back. Gas us! Gas! You're fucking coward!
You see this crazy guy go like in low ready stance in front of the door because he thought they were coming out. Did he think he was just going to start shooting cops like as they were on their way out? You know, but again, remember, guys, this is a left-leaning protester.
Yeah.
I'm not pulling already. Gas! They're gonna deploy. They're getting out. I'm not doing it. 10-4 on gas! They're gonna gas! Yeah! Get ready to kick that shit. If you can, boot it back there. They all have gas masks on. Get ready. Gas masks on. Go back! Hey!
So that's the kind of riot that they think should have been put
This
down
was the-
by police or something, and I don't understand how they think that was going to happen without an enormous amount of bloodshed. Like, anyway, but
I think they were hoping that nobody would come out of the Bearcat. That's not a Bearcat, by the way, but yeah.
Whatever it is.
By the way, Citizen Ann says you're wrong. I think she's aiming this at me. He's dealing with it the only way he knows how. He's dealing with it wrong. Perception is more important than reality. I get that maybe behind the scenes and deep down he has extreme I don't want to use the word remorse, misgivings or sorrow over what took place. But perception, he's not given that perception. And this is where PR comes into play. People hate him because of the way he's acting after the trial. They're not necessarily unjustified in their views of him in that regard.
So Anne gave me these details later, but apparently originally this documentary was 3 hours long, and that they made him cut it down. And I believe that, what they should have done is like maybe do it in 3 parts or something. But like that was like, because I had asked her, why the hell is Zeminski not mentioned? And they're in the footage, but they're not in the documentary at all. Like just non-factors, even though they play a huge role in what took place.
Yeah.
And they instigated the crowd that went to chase Kyle, like all kinds of stuff just doesn't. But it's like everybody memory holes them, and it's crazy to me. But anyway, so overall, let me take a look at this. Where are we at now? So the new poll is a bit more even. It's 57% yes, 43% no on the fairness of this documentary. So what do people like? What do you guys think at this point of this documentary? Was it fair or fair and balanced or no?
Well, obviously they left a lot of bits out. They obviously let loads of bits out, like you say, Zeminski and stuff. And the fact that Grosskreutz knew that Kyle was running towards police. They didn't even mention that bit. Where Kyle said when he said, "Where are you going? Where are you going?" "I'm running to the police." Like, why didn't they add that bit?
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. It seemed to me like they were trying really hard to make it 50-50, when in reality, because Kyle was exonerated because the evidence was overwhelming that he was innocent, it should not have been 50-50. It should have been 70-30 in his favor, because the evidence, all of the facts pointed towards his innocence. But they tried to, like, for every claim that there was that was pro Kyle, they tried to balance it with an anti Kyle deal. And that gave the impression that this was really a dicey one. This was really on the fence. The jury verdict could have gone either way. The truth of it is, even the left understood that Kyle was going to be exonerated, and they were making up all kinds of claims like, "Oh, well, you just know that he's going to be acquitted because the jury system is so rigged, the judge is so pro-MAGA." They knew that they didn't have the evidence to convict, and they were already coming up with the excuses, even before the jury verdict. So when any leftist who watched the trial, like religiously, was on Twitter talking about how unfair the justice system was and that Kyle was going to get exonerated because it was all rigged, they knew deep down they didn't have the evidence against him.
Well, yeah, and then the constant claims that Schroeder was the reason because he was a bad judge or something, and I was like, guys, it's like I watched the trial, you clearly didn't, but it just at the end of the day, one of the things I kind of realized was that these people are so immune to facts. They wanted him to be guilty because things have become so tribal now that this is the analogy I usually use. This is where we're at. It's like it reminds me of like middle school volleyball where the gym coach like he calls a score for the other team or for your team. You guys know that the ball is out, but you're like, shut up, man, shut up, don't say anything. Like, you you want to keep your score because it's more important to you that you win the volleyball game than it is that, you actually won the volleyball game. All of this stuff about the truth is completely gone. And I actually just watched a documentary about George Orwell, and he talked about this in a lot of his writings, that like when you see something is trying to get rid of objective truth, then that is generally an indication that some form of authoritarian something is trying to, take control over your government, like, trying to take control over your society. So I think that that's, really what's going on here. They don't care about the truth. He's just not on their team. And if it was the other way around and a left-wing protester had shot a bunch of them, then they would want him innocent, and then the right would want him guilty. Like that's
agreed.
And that's how they
like Perry,
Yeah.
Daniel Perry,
in Texas.
Daniel Perry.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, Daniel Perry.
Yeah, all of a sudden,
an AK-47. Yeah.
Yeah, carrying an AK-47 at a protest is all of a sudden not a problem anymore, is it?
Well,
Yeah,
they said there
it's
was
not
a
a
piece of
it's
footage
not
there.
a problem. It's not a problem because it's one of our guys.
Well, right.
Yeah,
Well, that's how
absolutely.
it's become across the board. There's so much, there's so much hypocrisy and so much, like I said, tribalism means that you need to be with your tribe, whether they're right or wrong. And that's how they act towards me, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to help you lie to people, and I'm not going to help you, make stupid arguments, and I'm not going to go along with any of that stuff. It's funny actually, because Bernie Sanders was up before the Senate talking about wealth inequality and all that stuff again, and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, that's interesting. I haven't heard anybody on the left talk about this stuff in about 3 years, because instead we're worried about pronouns and criminals being shot by police, and defunding the
Yeah.
police. We're not talking about, and I know you guys are probably both conservative. My point is that we're not discussing anything that actually affects people's real lives anymore. Like, the left has been completely derailed, and I don't think it's by accident. I remember when I was at Occupy, we were there. The funny, Occupy initially kind of enjoyed bipartisan support, and everybody thought that the banks were getting this like golden parachute thing about what went on with the, because that's what started it all, was we're going to put out all these, mortgages that we know are going to fail. We're going to convince poor people to get them. And then we're going to beg the government to give us a bailout. And we're going to get all the property back that we can take back from the people that we got, that we sold it to. So they made out like bandits. And everybody, at that point, the Tea Party was upset. And so was Occupy. And I think that was one of the points that I think has led to all of this, is that there was a dangerous moment there where the conservative activists and the leftist activists had something in common, and it was a reference to the super wealthy, the people like, the deep state types were all actually in a position where they were like, uh-oh, we can't have that. We can't have because Ron Paul actually called to the Tea Party and said, hey, you guys should go talk to Occupy because you have common enemies. And shortly after that, when I was like, oh, that'd be kind of cool, maybe I'll get to talk to some Ron Paul people and stuff. And then what happened instead was all of these weird experts showed up at Occupy camps telling us that actually we should all hate each other because, if you're white, then, you're evil. And if you're straight, then you're evil. And if you're, if you're cis, then you're evil, like just down the line. And then all of a sudden, everything started getting divided up by individual groups. There was no unified 99% anymore. There was the 13% that was this group and the 14% that was that, it was all divided up. And I don't think that's an accident. I think that, what Occupy represented was very dangerous because, for one thing, it was strictly peaceful. And anybody who was violent in our camps, we would throw them out. Like, there would be none of this stuff. Although Antifa would follow behind us, like at our peaceful marches, and throw, bricks into windows and stuff like that. And we would always call them out for it. Like, cut that shit out. You don't see that anymore. Nobody dares say that at protests now, but anyway, so I don't think any of this is an accident. And I tell people this all the time. Don't think that Fox News is better than MSNBC, and don't think that MSNBC is better than Fox. These organizations, the media, it's like pro wrestling. There's WWE Raw or WWE SmackDown. It's still all bullshit. What were you going to say, Tucker?
I only watch Gutfeld because he's funny. You know, Gutfeld on Fox, he's just funny.
Mhm.
But before 2020, I didn't give a crap about politics at all. And then I saw the shooting. I saw Kyle defend himself, and I saw the left just completely and utterly demonize him, and that was what made me think, like, what the hell is going on? You know, like Trump obviously, you know, he came out and said, well, it's obviously self defense. He defended himself from people attacking him. But all the left are like, he's a white supremacist. He was out there with an AK-47, you know, because they're all morons. And then and he had no need to be there. He had no need to be there. He was just a kid, and he was targeting Black Lives Matter protesters, and you know, and I was like, what the hell is going on? I do not understand this at all. Like, why is it suddenly a political divide over it? I mean, the kid went out. You can say he was an idiot all you want. I don't care. You can say he was an idiot. He himself says, like, in hindsight, I wouldn't have gone there, you know. But the fact is, he wasn't breaking any laws, and he was attacked by a suicidal paedophile and then he tried to make his way to the police lines, and the mob attacked him, and he defended himself again. And then he made himself back home, turned himself in immediately. Like 90 minutes after the shooting, he was in Antioch police station, giving himself up. That's fact. But all these lunatics don't understand this shit, because all they care about is, like, he had an AK-15, you know, because, like, they always get the numbers wrong because they're all stupid.
Right,
You know,
right.
it's true, and they're like, hey, he did this, he did that, and it's like, prove it. Well, he went chasing people. He went there deliberately to shoot some black people. Prove it. You can't prove it because you've got nothing. I mean, Johnny's got the excellent meme. You know, Johnny knows. You know, you made a couple of great memes for it. You're getting beat the shit out of in a Kyle Rittenhouse thread. You don't know a damn thing about it, and these people know way more than you. You are getting your ass kicked. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Anyway.
Well, and I created those memes because I was getting kind of tired of seeing people who had no business getting involved. It's just like the gun debates. Look, I mean, you can have views on gun control, but when you start going in and start talking about the guns themselves, you had better know what you're talking about, because you're going up against people who take guns very seriously. And it's the same thing with the Kyle Rittenhouse deal. They are not prepared for it. They think that they're going up against people who have casual interests in this. No, they don't. I have well over 2,000 hours of research into the Kyle Rittenhouse shootings. I have, 400 videos. I've interviewed plenty of witnesses. You're not going to beat me in an argument. Just not going to happen. So don't try.
Yeah.
They'll just sit there
So,
and filibuster.
and by the way,
beat themselves.
people like Ripley, they know more than I do. And so I see them trying to take on these guys, and I'm thinking, oh my, this is not even be close, because ultimately you're having a person who is ignorant of the facts going up against somebody who could get a PhD in Kenosha shootings.
It really is. It's what they want to be true. They desperately want it to be true.
Absolutely.
That's when they oppose objective truth. That's what that's about. I should have my truth. I'm entitled to my truth. That's what they want it to be. You know, so the poll is now at 57% says yes, 43% says no, as far as to what people think about the documentary. My Discord link is at the top of the chat on YouTube, folks. If you want to join us on Discord, you know, consider doing that. And if you have not, please hit like. You know, we've had a lot of people watching today. Sorry, go ahead, Johnny.
I like. Go on, Johnny first.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, Tucker.
I just like the one by Anne a few minutes ago. Correct V and accent dude. Accent dude. I presume that's accent dude. I presume she means me.
Oh, okay. Hey, accent dude, what's up, man?
There's a couple of individuals that were missing from the BBC documentary that would have made it a lot better if they would have came out and told what really happened. The Zeminskis is one, but they would have lied. And the other one is the Kendrys. And they are also true victims of this. And not a lot has been talked about, but they got wiped out. And a lot of people came in and said, oh, they're insured. They weren't. That was the problem. So I would like everybody to understand what it would be like to have 100 cars burned to the ground, and you call the next day to your insurance company and they say they're not covering you. Can you imagine?
Well,
those were their cars. Those were on consignment. So you're going to have 100 car owners wanting to know why their car got burned to the ground on your lot. And so
well,
under go ahead.
I saw a live stream the very next day after the 24th, where the Kindrys were being interviewed, and they said they lost 135 cars, and it was X amount of million.
2.5 million.
I mean, like, yeah, it was yeah,
$2.5
and yet on the
million.
stand,
Yeah.
and yet on the stand, when they were asked how much they lost, they suddenly forgot.
Well, the whole thing about insurance is so silly. Like, well, it's okay to destroy these
terrible.
places. They have insurance. So, like the Hispanic family I talked about with the ice cream parlor that was also a taco joint. Talk about awesome, right? They had insurance on the building, but not on their equipment, so they were still ruined at the end of it. You know, and obviously not, the oppressive straight white rich people that you need to destroy their stuff, right? Like they don't fit the category, guys. They were legitimate legal immigrants who came and studied the American dream and opened a business. They didn't deserve to have their stuff burned down. And not that in any way would bring back Jacob Blake, from, well, he didn't die, but like didn't help him. Violent riots are just stupid.
And
fire doesn't discriminate.
No.
Yeah.
But also,
fire does not care.
The Kendrys are immigrants, and in their culture, those properties were owned by their father. And you have to understand culturally that those kids were in a really bad bind. And so here's a bunch of kids who are coming up and are going to help you defend your property that night. Keep in mind, they lost all those cars on the lot, but they have 2 other properties that are going to get burned down again if they don't do something. And under those circumstances, I can absolutely understand why they would say, yeah, we'll take any help we can get. Then to have one of those people that they sort of hired shoot somebody dead, or 2 people dead, you can imagine on the stand what they were facing. They have their parents telling them, under no circumstances do you compromise our business. And then they have this, oath that they have to take to tell the truth. I can't imagine what it must have been like to be in their shoes. I give them a lot of leeway on this. They lied. They know they lied. But you know what? I forgive them for it. I totally do. I would, if I was in their shoes, I might have done the same.
So we've been at this, gentlemen, for about 3 hours now. So what do we want to go ahead and make some closing statements?
Well, I'll start off by saying that if you have any interest in the Kenosha shootings, Kyle Rittenhouse, by all means, go and subscribe to my channel. I have 90 dumb arguments. There's a small clips about the dumb arguments that are made about the Kyle Rittenhouse events, but I have about another 300. And there's no aspect of the Kenosha shootings that I have not covered on my channel. So, anyway, that's all for me.
So, anything
from
you, Tucker?
I don't think I've got anything to add except thanks for having me on. It's been fun.
So I'm gonna play one more clip that I did from the Kenosha stuff, and then I will give my final story here. But this has to do with kind of helping people understand what the mentality of the quote unquote protesters / rioters was. But we're gonna go back to the furniture store guy that I keep talking about. And also, but it's one thing to watch what physically happened to him, but it's another thing specifically to listen to them defend what was done to the guy. So anyway, let me go ahead and start this. It's not very long.
Before you begin, can I make a quick comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
To all the viewers out there, Citizen Ann in the chat is Ann Fiedler, the trial witness. So that's who Citizen Ann is. That's Grambo.
Right.
I don't know if everybody knows that, but I really thank her for coming on here. She's added some great comments.
Yep, that was an interview that I got that the mainstream media couldn't get, and then I tried to get a Google ad for it, and Google wouldn't allow me to get an ad for it. They wouldn't allow me to pay them. They said it was shocking content. That's what they said. I'm like, it was me talking to a nice lady. There was no footage. Like, what are you talking about? But anyway, all right, here we go. So I got my hands on an extended version of the film of the elderly man who was struck and had his jaw broken while he was defending his property in Kenosha, Wisconsin. This was specifically the furniture store that was being looted and burned. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up again is that the version that I found also has the conversation that took place while the man was lying on the ground bleeding with a broken jaw.
This poor man got his business caught on fire. I'm sorry, sir. I'm very sorry about that, man.
Yeah, really.
Hey, I have nothing to do with that. I'm trying to stop this shit here. Dude, I'm gonna help this guy. I don't give a fuck if I get beat up.
Oh, sir, just leave it there, sir.
They just threw a bottle at this guy. Hey, hey, hey! No! No! Sir! Are you okay?
For those of you not familiar with this incident, this is part of the fiery but mostly peaceful protests after the police shooting in Kenosha. This took place the day before Kyle and Grambo and all of them arrived.
Are you okay? Are you okay? Turn his head, turn his head. He was just defending his business, that's all he was doing. And they walked up and fucked him up. Fucked him up. I have it all on video. Listen, all of it. He didn't deserve any of that. Any of it.
If you listen carefully in the background, you can hear them telling her that she needs to go home because she's pointing out that what they did was wrong.
This is just wrong, guys. Do you not see this? This is wrong. This is what's going to happen to every one of you when this goes nationwide. I don't think you realize this. Please, guys.
We're trying to protect ourselves.
Did you hear that? They're trying to protect themselves by burning down and destroying this man's business and assaulting him, even though he has nothing to do with their grievance.
We're trying to protect ourselves.
Hey, you got alcohol in the
You don't understand what terrifies these black men out here. They're not making it home to their families. Understand.
She doesn't understand. You see, they're targeting these innocent people and their businesses because some black men are not making it back to their families. You just don't understand. That's why we have to attack innocent people and destroy their property. Because that will change people's opinions of us, and they'll stop racially profiling us as violent and destructive.
Respect. How about that? It's called respect.
Who's going to respect you when you attack innocent people and destroy their lives? Who's going to give you respect? Is it respect you want, or is it fear? You want people to fear you. That's really what you want. And the problem is, well, aside from the fact that that's, oh yeah, domestic terrorism to intimidate or coerce a civilian population, competent activists will tell you that fear is the source of racism. So making people afraid of you literally will create more racism. This is the reason why I completely oppose what is currently called racial activism. In one of my upcoming videos, I'm also going to be discussing why the current racial activism that is basically just actively hating white people will in turn scientifically provably cause still more racism. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning. So, yeah, Kenosha wasn't peaceful. If people want to know why anybody would ever want to go there, violent, or it's like to stop violence, like why would they want to be armed? Who knows, right? Why would anybody be motivated to be to be armed? So, anyway.
Yeah, that video was facts. That was facts.
Yeah, thank you.
That video was great. Yeah.
So, the thing is, guys, I want to, thank you guys for coming on, and I'm trying to put out more content. I just only do it if I'm in the right mindset, and this documentary was something that was enough for me to want to go ahead and do that. I want to thank Grambo for coming on in the past and being in the chat. I want to thank Nathan DeBruin for being around. He wasn't around here today, but he's been a fantastic guest. Always love having him on. If this is your first time checking out my channel, you'll see interviews with Brett Weinstein, Peter Boghossian, Daryl Davis, lots of different cool interviews. Derek Jensen, I don't know if you guys would know who that is or not, but lots of different content on the Kyle Rittenhouse stuff, including like my interactions with Gage Grosskreutz and Joshua Zaminsky. But in addition to that, just one of the things I'm actually working on next is I'm going to do another chapter of my Do You Think for Yourself series, where I'm going to be talking about basically everybody thinks they think for themselves. And I have I think it's like 10 chapters of this. But the reality is that there are a lot of social phenomenon that can affect your ability to think for yourself. And that's one of the things I go over in that series. And that's what my next episode will be about. Just formulating it right now. There are a lot of actually scientifically proven, back when psychology was still science, phenomenon that can affect your ability to think for yourself. And if you're armed with the knowledge that they exist, then that can help you kind of self-defense for the mind. So anyway, guys, thank you, everybody. If you haven't yet, please make sure you subscribe to Johnny Walker Dread's channel. If you're watching on Johnny Walker Dread's channel, maybe you should consider subscribing on mine if you haven't already. Even if you think you are subscribed, make sure you check, because I do have people who literally are just deleted off of my account. I remember Good Logic, one of the only law tubers that I really liked and got along with. He brought me on a couple times to talk about this documentary that I made a long time ago. And I got 1,000 subscribers live with him. And he and I were talking after the stream was over. And literally in real time, as I'm watching the ticker, we watched 800 subscribers deleted from my channel all at once. So, wow. The rumors are real, folks. YouTube will take action to try to squelch your audience. That's one of the reasons why I'm on multiple places. Everything I do here will be re-uploaded to Rumble and Odyssey. And I also have a BitChute channel. So make sure you check all that out. I used to have an HY page that linked to that, but HY page is not free anymore. So I'm going to figure out a different way to get you guys the links to my Rumble and BitChute and Odyssey. And I also upload everything to Spotify. But anyway, all right, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in. What were you going to say, Tucker?
I was going to say, post any links that you've got to X and we can share that shit out,
Yeah, for sure. All right, I will do that. Yep. I always put everything up on X. But remember, I'm also shadow banned there, by the way. I don't know how. With Elon Musk taking over, but Tam, who's one of my mods, literally was like, "My God, B, I didn't even realize you were still on Twitter. I just went back and looked at all your links that you've been sending." I'm like, "What happened?" She's like, "I had to actually go use the link to find you because searching me wasn't bringing me up." So they don't like people to tell the truth.
I've known Tam and Iz for a good couple of years now. She's good. She's good people.
All right, everybody. I guess Johnny dipped out. I know he was good to go. So I will talk to you all later.